until He received the monster essence pill and retracted her hand. Feeling the touch and temperature lost in the palm of his hand, Ouyang Haoshuan only felt a loss in his heart. He wished to grab the white jade-like hand back and put it into his palm. He returned to the corpse pile of magical beast to collect monster essence pill and let purple abyss vines suck enough blood. As she was about to ask Ouyang Haoshuan to move together, she turned back and saw that Ouyang Haoshuan was astounded on the spot. His pair of dark jade eyes were stunned looking at her, but it also seemed like he was spaced out as he was looking at nothing. "Young Master Ouyang? Young Master Ouyang?" He called several times in a row before Ouyang Haoshuan slammed back, and his cheeks turned red. He gave a low cough and covered his embarrassment, then he only spoke casually, "Shiyu, we have a friendship at the very least. Please stop calling me young Master Ouyang. Call me Haoshuan instead." He responded casually with an "oh." She wasn't interested in what to address. "Let's go." Watching the slender back of the young man walking in front of him, and the dark and soft hair fluttered lightly, Ouyang Haoshuan recollected his mind. He suppressed the peculiar state in his mind and quickly followed up. This time the two walked up the main peak. Because the main peak was steep and high, there were very few martial artists encountered on the way, but there were more and more magical beasts. But for He, the more magical beasts, the happier she was. This area only had rank for magical beasts. She was more than enough to deal with it by herself. Now, with the help of Ouyang Haoshuan, it went very smoothly. The magical beasts on the peak were so terrified that they didn't dare to come out. Ouyang Haoshuan had seen He's strength while in the valley. However, along the way he was horrified to watch He showing his sword skills that were better than the gold core stage martial artists and harvesting a bunch of magical beasts in his hand. Shiyu is only at the foundation establishment stage. How can he defeat a group of rank 4 magical beasts? This is impossible no matter how. And if I remember it right, Shiyu was just an ordinary person who couldn't use spiritual power a few months ago. At the time, she was still using Nangong Yu's spiritual power to help me cure the poison. But in just a few months, her strength was close to the peak of the meridian stage. Such a speed of advancing made Ouyang Haoshuan startled. Ouyang Haoshuan didn't know that this was even the result of He hiding his strength. If Ouyang Haoshuan knew that He could beat up an intermediate-level gold core stage martial artist with his full force, Ouyang Haoshuan's jaw would be dropping. After a year and a half being laughed by people after his meridians were severed, Ouyang Haoshuan's heart was filled with a thick darkness. Apart from his parents, he could no longer believe anyone. He would never care about the lives of others. But this Shiyu was different, right? Ouyang Haoshuan would never forget that it was this beautiful and handsome young man who told him with an ease smile light and a loud tone, "I can cure you." Shiyu was like a light, pulling him out of the abyss of hell, allowing him to relive like a person, and giving redemption to the Ouyang family. Ouyang Haoshuan was grateful and eager for Shiyu. But now, he found that he was more and more attracted to this beautiful-looking, superb medical skills, and powerful youth. It was to the extent that he couldn't look away. The two men ascended halfway up the main peak, and finally came to a huge field on top of the mountain. Not far away, in the dense forest ahead, the sound of quarrels and fights could be heard. Occasionally, there were the voices of martial artists screaming. From here, they could vaguely see indistinct figures fighting. Ouyang Haoshuan looked at the direction of the screaming. His eyes were cold without any curiosity or sympathy. However, when he turned to see He's expression looking over there, he couldn't help asking, "Shiyu, do you want to help?" If Shiyu wanted to save them, he was naturally willing to accompany him. He smiled faintly and shook her head. "No, I just seem to see an acquaintance. However, it doesn't matter to me, let's go." There was a smile in Ouyang Haoshuan's eyes. As the two were about to leave, a familiar young voice suddenly sounded behind them, "Young Master Shi, help." This was Nalin Ziyun's voice. It was full of supplication and surprise. Why would He care about him? She literally ignored him and walked away. She even talked to Ouyang Haoshuan by the side as she walked as if there was no one there. Nalin Ziyun was being beaten as he was pressed to the ground at this moment. The one who pressed him was an extremely fat martial artist. When he heard him asking for help, he laughed and said, "What, young Master West or young Master East? The 11 in Shiyu name represents West in Chinese. Even the Emperor couldn't save you now." After that, the fat fist slammed heavily on Nailan Ziyun's waist. It was so painful that Nailan Ziyun's body trembled for a while. He saw that Shiyu didn't mean to save himself at all. He was so furious and hateful. He turned his eyes, and there was ruthlessness in his eyes. He couldn't help increase his pitch. "Shiyu, weren't you very happy and proud to embarrass the Feng family in the palace that day? Now that you see the Feng family people oppress us innocent martial artists, you are going to flee?" Nailan Ziyun's remarks immediately made the group of martial artists who were been beating Nailan Ziyun and others stop their movements, and looked at Heshi fiercely. If, in this big hunting match, the most hated person of the disciples of Feng family and Luli sect was Shiyu, then no one could absolutely be the second. Hearing the name Shiyu, and then carefully looked at this young man's overly handsome face, if he was not the one who embarrassed the Feng family in the palace, who would it be? For a time, these Feng family's martial artists burst into anger. The leader waved his hand, then half of the martial artists who were beating Nailan Ziyun charged directly at Heshi and Uinag Haoshuan. They immediately surrounded them in a blink of an eye. The leader looked 35 or 36 years old. His facial features were fairly angular, but his hair was thin and greasy. His forehead was even empty as if he was wearing a wig. He stepped forward a few steps and assessed Heshi up and down, then he laughed coldly. "It really is you, Shiyu, ha? You can have a good live, but you run into trouble yourself instead." A mere foundation establishment stage martial artist actually overreaches himself to go to the rank 4 magical beast area. "Today, you are really unlucky to meet me, Feng Yunhai. Rest assured, according to the rules of big hunting match, I can't kill the contestants, but it's still very easy for you to survive a living hell. Ha." Heshi only treated him as a crazy dog barking. Her gaze looking at him was full of unconcern. It's strange, Feng family and Luli sect were so embarrassed. Even their own Miss Delicate Body was naked in front of everybody. I thought that the disciple of the Feng family should at least know how to be shameful and stay at home for half a moon to not see anyone. Who knows that even your face is lost? The Feng family still dare to let you guys come out and bark. This is really shameless, utterly shameless. Feng Yunhai snorted. He pointed at Heshi and said angrily, "Slut, you're looking for death. You all come here and catch this slut, then beat him up badly." For a while, the Feng family's disciples who were staying around Nailan Ziyun all rushed over. What made Heshi a little curious was that several of these disciples were actually at the Gold Core stage, but after entering the rank 4 magical beast area, their strength was suppressed. When they came over, they surrounded and protected Feng Yunhai firmly in the middle. It seemed that Feng Yunhai's status in the Feng family was not low. Heshi and Feng Yunhai were at daggers drawn. Nailan Ziyun saw the men who had beaten himself fled, then he quickly rushed to a handsome young man not far away and carefully lifted him up. "Third fellow apprentice, are you all right?" The person who was getting help was Xia Yichen, the grandson of Elder Xia of the Shuiyu sect. At this point, Xia Yichen's mouth was bleeding with blood, and his forehead was a little bruised. He was looking at the crowd in front of him with a sinister and fierce gaze. Nailan Ziyun glanced at Heshi, Feng Yunhai and others and said quickly, "Third fellow apprentice." Thankfully Feng Yunhai and his men redirect their attention to Shiyu. "They will not notice us at all for the time being. Let's go now." Nailan Ziyun pulled Xia Yichen a bit, but Xia Yichen's face turned blue. His body wasn't moving at all. Nailan Ziyun looked anxiously at the other young man beside him. "Fourth fellow apprentice, you should also advise third fellow apprentice. If the Feng family's people target us again, we would be damned." "Shut up." Before Nailan Ziyun finished his words, Xia Yichen interrupted him coldly. "Since when my Shuiyu sect, Xia family, is afraid of the Feng family? This scum Feng Yunhai dare to let me crawl under his crotch, and he wanted to steal our monster essence pills. It is unbearable. If I run away today, where would our Xia families and Shuiyu sect's face be?" The fellow apprentices around Xia Yichen immediately felt indignant and said, "Feng family is going too far. Wei Shuiyu sect is also a martial artist sect who is tied with them among the 4 major sections. Who the hell is Fen Jianhai? Isn't he just a not outstanding scum of the Feng family? He has been training for more than 50 years, but he is only at the meridian stage. He actually dares to be so arrogant to our Shuiyu sect. He really thinks that Shuiyu sect doesn't have any powerful person? Nalan Ziyun hurriedly said, but Feng family now wants to deal with Shiyu's kid. Third fellow apprentice, don't you also hate that Shiyu? Wouldn't it be better to let them fight each other? Xia Yichen looked coldly at him for a moment. His eyes were full of contempt. I do hate Shiyu, but I hate these scums of the Feng family even more and the people who set us up. If I want to trouble Shiyu, I will challenge that kid up front. If we use trick to set him up, wouldn't we lose the face of the Xia family? Third fellow apprentice is right. How fair is that for us to use dirty tricks? We need to regain our face. We must let those scums of the Feng family kneel down and apologize to us. Xia Yichen's fellow apprentice were all in their 20s. They were irritable and bad-tempered. Now, they were bullied by Feng family's people. How would they just give up that easily? Of course, part of the reason was that no one could kill anyone in this big hunting match. Similarly, Feng Yunhai dared to rob them, but they had absolutely no courage to kill them. Otherwise, wouldn't it let Xia family and Feng family completely have a fallout? Several people from Shuiyu sect pushed Nalan Ziyun aside, and some even taunted him. Fellow apprentice is still timid. You are probably scared after being beaten by the fat man. Since you have no courage, it is better to stay here to avoid being caught and getting your face beaten. You only know to cry for help. Wouldn't you ruin the reputation of our Shuiyu sect? Nalan Ziyun's face turned blue and white for a while. He clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were filled with resentment and haze. If I didn't use tricks to shift Feng Yunhai and his men's attention to Shiyu, these people would be beaten up badly just now. Now they actually blame me for being dirty. It's all because of Shiyu. Because he refused to take the initiative to save me, so I got myself into such a situation. It is all Shiyu, this bitch's fault. By this time He and Feng Yunhai had already started fighting. Feng Yunhai's strength was just average, but the 2 gold core stage martial artists around him, whose strength was suppressed, were very powerful. As soon as Feng Yunhai ordered, a fireball and an ice blade were launched toward He. Before waiting for He to move, Ouyang Haoshuan stood in front of He, waved his sword, and easily parried the fireball and ice blade. Obviously, it was just a sword coated with a thin layer of spiritual power, but it could make the fireball and ice blade disappear instantly. The 2 gold core stage martial artists both showed shocked expressions, exclaiming, "Gold core stage." Several people's faces showed stunned expressions. No wonder He dared to enter the rank 4 magical beast area at a foundation establishment stage. It turned out that she was followed by a gold core stage bodyguard, and he was also at strong gold core stage. Feng Yunhai saw that the attack of her 2 guards was parried by Ouyang Haoshuan, and he suddenly yelled furiously, "You 2 entangle that gold core stage guy, everyone else beat up Shiyu that scum." As Feng Yunhai's men were about to move, several martial artists from the dense forest suddenly flew over and landed around the crowd. Xia Yichen stepped forward slowly, stood next to He, and sneered toward Feng Yunhai. Feng family's people are really good. They want to let so many meridian stage martial artists bully a foundation establishment stage martial artist. This is really a big joke. Oh yes, anyway, you guys had already been laughed at in the palace during the good show. Of course, you are not afraid now. After all, your face is already thicker than the city wall. Would you guys care embarrassing yourself more? When Feng Yunhai heard the words, he burst in rage. The thin, greasy hair on his head tilted as if it would fall off at any time. He was surprised. She glanced at Xia Yichen and secretly thought, if I remember correctly, Silver Spoon Kid was very hostile toward me during the opening ceremony of the big hunting match. His gaze was so fierce as if it could pierce me. Why would he help me now? Xia Yichen looked into Hexi's clear eyes and handsome face, and his face flushed suddenly. He suddenly raised his tone. What are you looking at? I'm not helping you. I'm just displeased with the Feng family's people only. He couldn't help laughing and shook her head. As expected, he was just a child like Shin Qingchua. Feng Yunhai, who looked embarrassed by Xia Yichen's words, burst into rage. Now when he saw Xia Yichen talking with He, he suddenly turned his eyes and said evilly, "Shiyu, our miss said you like to seduce a man. She really didn't wrong you. Look at you, is it not enough to seduce His Royal Highness King of Hell? You also seduce a gold core stage martial artist. Now you even got the grandson of Elder Xia under your crotch? Ha! I was wondering why a Foundation establishment stage boy dares to hunt in the rank 4 magical beast area, so you found yourself a few lovers to protect you." When Feng Yunhai said this, the Feng family's disciples behind him burst into laughter. Look at his thin skin and tender flesh, his red lips and teeth white. No one would believe that he isn't a boy toy. Aya, such a beautiful boy, even I am willing to keep him. I don't know if the young master Shi is short of lovers. As long as you are willing to sleep with us for a night, we can give you a lot of monster essence pill. Feng Yunhai was extremely satisfied with the cooperation of his subordinates. Then he immediately smiled at Xia Yichen. Xia Yichen, I heard that you are the only bloodline of Elder Xia, but you are mixing with a man. If you let your grandpa know, do you think that he will chase you out of the Xia family because you lose the family's face? What's more, even if you are looking for a man, you need to find someone with clean history. This young master, she obviously has several lovers. I think the gold core stage next to him is better than you. Xia Yichen isn't even comparable to him. Feng Yunhai's words aroused another round of laughter. The gold core stage brother next to Shiyu? How does it feel to play with a man? Is it better than playing with a girl? Why don't you share it with us? Xia Yichen's angry eyes widened. Even his handsome face was distorted. He took out his flying sword as he was going to fight with Feng Yunhai. But Ouyang Haoshuan moved faster than him. The whistling flying sword circled in the sky and flew toward the Feng family disciple who spoke last. Before the man's laughter stopped, his mouth widened, and his eyes revealed a wretched expression. However, before he closed his mouth, he felt a murderous vibe rushing at him. A short scream sounded, then it disappeared without a trace. There was a large hole in the man's forehead. Blood and brain juice were flowing out of it. The Feng family's disciples, including Feng Yunhai, were stunned by this scene. They never thought that this gentle-looking and handsome man would kill without saying a word. This was totally disregarding the rules of the big hunting match and the identity of the Feng family's disciple. The long sword circled back to Ouyang Haoshuan's hands. He bent his fingers and flicked on the sword, then smiled faintly. When will the Feng family people only do the talk? Oh, I forget, when you framed Shiyu was at the public trial conference, weren't you guys only doing the talk? However, you guys failed to frame her and lost your own reputation unfortunately. I thought you guys really wouldn't use this unique skill again. When Ouyang Haoshuan said this, Xia Yichen and the people of the Qixing Palace laughed out loud. Feng Yunhai and others were furious, pointing at Ouyang Haoshuan and screaming, "Shit, what are you? You dare to point finger at our Feng family? Besides, don't you know that killing is not allowed in big hunting match? Aren't you afraid of being punished by the 4 major sects after it is made known?" Ouyang Haoshuan sneered, "Big hunting match does not allow killings, but it is only for those registered martial artists, not the people who sneaked in around you. I don't know when the people in the Feng family were so brave. They actually dare to send in the non-participants illegally behind the other 3 major sections. If this is spread out, am I going to be sanctioned or the Feng family will be sanctioned?" When Ouyang Haoshuan said this, Feng Yunhai suddenly panicked. He almost instinctively blurted out, "How? How do you know?" Xia Yichen and others were also shocked, then suddenly came to their senses. They felt weird. They were also the major sect's disciples who were teleported to Breaking Spirit Mountain for the big hunting match. Xia Yichen's brothers and sisters all gathered together using secret methods. How come the Feng family's disciples were more powerful than them? There were even a few gold core stage martial artists followed Feng Yunhai to protect them? Logically, the number of people from the major sects and families had limited seats in the big hunting match. After all, most of the quotas must be reserved for those average martial artists in order for the major sects to select their talents. It turned out that these Feng family's people didn't all sign up for the big hunting match, but they sneaked in. No wonder, the Qixing Palace was defenseless against them. Xia Yichen's gaze looking at Feng Yunhai was filled with caution and suspicion. Feng Yunhai, what does Feng family want? Why did they send so many people into the Breaking Spirit Mountain? Feng Yunhai's face was extremely gloomy. Instead of answering Xia Yichen's words, he stared coldly at Ouyang Haoshuan. Young man, who are you? Before Ouyang Haoshuan answered, one of the gold core stage martial artists beside Feng Yunhai suddenly exclaimed, Young master, I know who he is. He is Ouyang Haoshuan, the only son of Ouyang Zhixiong. Ouyang family was the organizer of this big hunting match, so it was normal for Ouyang Haoshuan to know the list of participants of the big hunting match. Ouyang Haoshuan? Feng Yunhai's pupils shrank sharply. His hand, that was rubbing his hair gently, suddenly gripped and pulled out 1/3 of his hair. Instead of being angry, Feng Yunhai showed a look of joy in his eyes. He winked at the 2 gold core stage martial artists around her. This Ouyang Haoshuan was the wanted person by the young master, Feng Yunjing. This time the Feng family had invested so much manpower into Breaking Spirit Mountain. In addition to investigating the Prohibition Array's location of Breaking Spirit Mountain, there was a temporary mission which was to find the location of Ouyang Haoshuan and secretly took him back alive. Feng Yunhai masked the joy on his face and yelled angrily at Ouyang Haoshuan, Ouyang Haoshuan, are you tired of living? You dare to oppose our Feng family. You all catch him for me immediately. I must show him who has the say now. When Feng family's disciples heard that, they were about to charge at Ouyang Haoshuan. How would Xia Yichen let him do as he wished? He hated Feng Yunhai's humiliation to his bone. He immediately shouted, the Feng family dares to cheat in the big hunting match. Let's catch them all and look for the Feng family to reason with them. Qixing Palace's disciple responded and they cast their flying sword magic weapons. Sparks were everywhere instantly, roar resounded in the sky. 2 groups of people went into a fight. The 2 martial artists of the gold core stages, plus several people at the peak of the meridian stage surrounded Ouyang Haoshuan. It was a formation that would not allow him to escape. Even the people surrounding Heshi to take her life were not as many as those around Ouyang Haoshuan. Heshi raised an eyebrow in surprise. She always felt that Feng Yunhai became strange after he knew Ouyang Haoshuan's identity, or that the attitude of Feng family people became strange. They were shouting to teach Ouyang Haoshuan a lesson, but they were very careful in their moves. They seemed to be afraid of hurting Ouyang Haoshuan. In addition, most of the experts were around Ouyang Haoshuan. This was showing that they wanted to catch him alive. What is the Feng family trying to do? Why do they want to catch Ouyang Haoshuan? Although most of the Feng family's force was attracted by Ouyang Haoshuan and Heshi. However, the number and strength of the Feng family were still much larger than Qixing Palace. In particular, Feng Yunhai's men were almost at the advanced stage of the meridian stage or even the peak of the meridian stage. On the side of Xia Yichen, except for his own cultivation which was at the peak of the meridian stage, most of his fellow apprentices were at most at the early stage and middle stage of the meridian stage. So after a battle, Qixing Palace quickly fell behind. The situation on Ouyang Haoshuan's side was also not so optimistic. The strength of the 2 gold core stage masters surrounding him were exceptional, and they even had powerful magic weapons in their hands. In addition, there were 3 or 4 on the peak of the meridian stage to interfere with him. Now that his strength was suppressed to the meridian stage, so he gradually became unable to cope with the situation. One of the martial artists on the gold core stage saw that he was short of spiritual power, and he immediately overjoyed, shouting, "Give me the natural silks. Catch him, then our credit will be." However, before this man finished his words, Ouyang Haoshuan suddenly channeled his flying sword. His eyes were so cold and ruthless. He actually ignored all the people who attacked behind him and ruthlessly cut toward the hands of the gold core stage martial artist. Ah! The gold core stage martial artists uttered a terrible misery. The hand that was holding onto the natural silk was chopped down forcefully. His severed limb was splashing blood everywhere. For a moment, those who were attacking Ouyang Haoshuan were stunned. They never thought that this young man with normal cultivation would actually be so ruthless. When he hacked at this gold core stage martial artist, he completely exposed his back and weakness to the enemies behind him. This was basically the same as risking his own life. Feng Yunhai was also startled, then he immediately shouted, "What are you all doing? Since he can't appreciate what is good for him, then you just cripple him and then catch him." Feng family's disciple responded immediately. They took out all the magic weapons in their hands. As Ouyang Haoshuan, who didn't seem to be able to guard on time, was about to be seriously injured, there were dozens of purple lights shooting out from the blind angle. They were aiming at the Feng family's disciples behind Ouyang Haoshuan like sharp arrows. Peeth, peeth, there were several consecutive sounds of sharp blades penetrated the flesh, then followed by the horrible misery of the people. Immediately after that, the Meridian stage martial artists who wanted to attack Ouyang Haoshuan suddenly crumbled to the ground. Their eyes turned white, their faces were gray, and they looked like they were dying. A purple vine was piercing through their chests. The leaves were trembling as they sucked their flesh happily. The only one who could survive from the vine attack was the only gold core stage martial artist. But the vine had cut an opening on his throat. He was standing on the spot in horror. He was unable to move. Before the group was completely sucked into dry corpses, Heshi waved her hand and the vine flew back to her. Feng Yunhai looked incredibly at the handsome young man standing not far away. Isn't this kid only foundation establishment stage? Why can a single hit make the martial artists at the top of the Meridian stage unable to fight back? Feng Yunhai's complexion fluctuated, and he suddenly took out a yellow talisman from his arms. This was the Thunderbolt talisman given by his elder in the family. The full blow of the talisman could even make the martial artists at the peak of the gold core stage unbearable. Feng Yunhai gritted his teeth and spit his blood on the talisman, then he suddenly activated the talisman and rushed toward Heshi. "Shiyu, this slut, make our Feng family lose face. Now he dares to show off in front of us and spoil our important matter. I must let this bitch die without a trace in this breaking spirit mountain." Seeing Heshi's figure already appeared in front of him, but she still didn't realize it. There was a smirk in Feng Yunhai's eyes, and the talisman in his hand was about to burst open. "You scum, die now!" Feng Yunhai's arrogant shout came to an abrupt end. He couldn't believe seeing a little gray-black dragon appearing in front of his eyes. The little dragon opened his mouth to him, exposing his white and sharp teeth and grinning with ill intention. Then, his talisman was swallowed by the little dragon. It was swallowed in one bite. The little dragon made a burp and spat out a black smoke, then it murmured at Heshi, "Boss, this talisman is not tasty at all. The cinnabar used for painting talisman is not pure, but this spiritual power is quite rich, but it is still enough for a snack, hee." This little magic dragon was of course transfigured by the little golden dragon into the image of the doll T-Rex. After he was injured, he swallowed a lot of Monster Essence pills before completely recovered. Monster Essence pill contained magical beast cultivation and essence. After swallowing more Monster Essence pills, little golden dragon slowly acquired some basic skills of the other magical beasts. This taste and ability to devour talisman was one of the new skills learned by little golden dragon. Feng Yunhai widened his mouth as he looked at the little dragon in front of him, then he looked at Heshi again with a horrified face. Heshi sneered, lifted her feet, and trampled on Feng Yunhai's fat belly fiercely. Feng Yunhai let out a horrible scream like a pig being slaughtered. He flew out like a kite with broken line and fell on the ground. The blood in his mouth continued to flow, and his dantian was having a burning pain. Feng Yunhai stared at Heshi fiercely. His eyes filled with horror and resentment. Xia Yichen and others were originally suppressed by the Feng family's disciples, but Heshi's one move reversed the situation all of a sudden. One of the two gold core stages of the Feng family was crippled. One was injured. The injured one is now being suppressed heavily by Ouyang Haoshuan. In addition, those experts at the peak of the Meridian stage were also crippled by Heshi. The leader, Feng Yunhai, was even kicked out by Heshi and rolled on the ground like a turtle. Xia Yichen was particularly happy to see Feng Yunhai suffered a hit. He laughed out loud. The Feng family's disciples only have this little strength. They want to besiege a foundation establishment stage kid, but they were beaten up by him utterly. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Look, there is nothing to be afraid of the martial artists of the Feng family. We now will get our revenge. Beat these scums to their death. Okay, beat them up. The disciples of Qixing Palace laughed loudly, and their momentum suddenly increased. Even in the face of people who were higher than themselves, they showed no fear at all. On the contrary, the Feng family's disciples felt scared when they saw Heshi's fierce and powerful vibe and Ouyang Haoshuan's ruthlessness. Even their movement was slowed down in the blink of an eye. The situation reversed. And all this was just because of the two moves of the foundation establishment stage young man. Soon, the Feng family's people were all tied up by the disciples of Qixing Palace. Xia Yichen ransacked the storage bags and storage rings of the Feng family's disciples. They even removed their clothes, leaving them only a pair of underwear. Xia Yichen laughed as he watched the embarrassed and furious look when their clothes were stripped off. Feng Yunhai, didn't you just say that you want me to crawl through your crotch before you let me go? Now, how do you want me to let you go? Feng Yunhai looked more embarrassed than ever. His clothes had been stripped off, leaving only a pair of tattered pants. Even half of his butt was exposed. His belly was huge. It was full of fat meat. After peeling off his clothes, the fat was piled up, looking white and ugly. Especially his hair that was scarce, his hair that was entangled with the weeds was torn a lot, because Heshi's made him roll several times on the ground. Now that the middle of his head looked bad, which made him look extremely ugly. Feng Yunhai was tied up with natural silk. He was so angry that his body fat was trembling. He yelled at Xia Yichen furiously, "Xia Yichen, stop the bullying now. Do you really think our Feng family is easy to bully? You should let me go now if you are sensible, otherwise I won't let you guys go when I go back to the Feng family." We are so scared. Another fellow apprentice sneered beside Xia Yichen. Feng Yunhai, don't forget that our Qixing Palace is also one of the 4 major sects. Do you really think we are afraid of your Feng family? Xia Yichen crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked down at Feng Yunhai. If you want me to let you go, you can. As long as you Feng Yunhai obediently crawls through my crotch, I will let you all go. Otherwise, don't you think about it? Feng Yunhai was furious. Who the hell are you? You want me, Feng Yunhai, to crawl your crotch? Are you worth, pa? Before Feng Yunhai finished his words, Xia Yichen threw a slap on his face and smirked. You can choose not to crawl. I can't kill you because of the rules of big hunting match. But I don't mind beating you all up badly. Feng Yunhai's face quickly swelled. He wanted to scold again, but another slap containing spiritual power hit him again. Everyone of the Qixing Palace laughed and beat up Feng family's disciple. For a time, there were wailing sounds on the mountainside. Feng Yunhai finally couldn't stand the humiliation and pain. He pleaded with tears and blood on his face. Don't hit anymore. I'll crawl. I'll crawl. Xia Yichen looked at Feng Yunhai, who trembled as he crawled through his crotch, and was so proud that the grievance in his chest was clear. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. He turned his head and saw Heshi standing indifferently. He coughed and walked over as he said, Thank you. Heshi glanced at him and said indifferently, Feng family and I already have resentment. I didn't mean to help you. Thank for what? You. Xia Yichen thanked him kindly, but in exchange for Heshi's lukewarm reply. He was instantly out of breath. But looking at the beautiful face of the young boy like ice sculptures, he couldn't say anything terrible. After all, if it wasn't for this man, he would be humiliated by Feng Yunhai today. How could he vent his anger? Before Xia Yichen spoke, Nalan Ziyun, who was also following him, suddenly burst into anger. "Young Master Shi, what do you mean?" Second fellow apprentice, "Thank you kindly. You don't appreciate it, but why are you so arrogant? Don't you know that the people who cultivate immortality should uphold justice? You just now wanted to see us die. Don't you think you are too cold and selfish?" Heshi sneered, watching Nalan Ziyun with a cold and sharp gaze. Her cheap brother was really interesting. Each time he made a young and naive look, but the words he spoke imply provocation and irony. He really got the best of Nalan Zhengzi. Nalan Ziyun's words were full of indignation. He initially thought he would get Xia Yichen's understanding. Who knew that Xia Yichen glared at him and said coldly, "Who asks you to talk now? Go to the side. Don't disturb me to talk to Shiyu." Nalan Ziyun's expression suddenly froze. His hands on his sides suddenly clenched into fists. His gaze revealed a grim light. Xia Yichen ignored Nalan Ziyun. He just stared at Heshi for a long while, then he suddenly took out the items he ransacked and passed over. "Here you go." Heshi raised an eyebrow and looked at him in confusion. Xia Yichen uneasily opened his eyebrows, and he tried to maintain a cold tone. "Feng Yunhai was defeated by you. This is the monster essence pill and magic weapons I found from him. I give them all to you." He also added, "The other people's storage bags are taken by my fellow apprentices, so I will not return them to you. I have given what I searched from them to you. I don't want to take advantage of you." Heshi looked at the young man's proud and shy face, and she felt a little funny. Xia Yichen treats me as a love rival, but he could still think of not taking advantage of me. It seems that this guy's heart is not bad. Xia Yichen saw that Heshi had been silenced all the time. Her pair of slanted eyes obviously looked so beautiful, but her expression was arrogant and irritating. He stuffed the storage bag into Heshi's hand and said coldly, "There is no rule that prohibits killing outside Breaking Spirit Mountain. You should be careful of Feng family's revenge at that time. Don't say that I drag you down later." Having said that, regardless of Heshi's reaction, he quickly greeted the disciples of the Qixing Palace and left the place. Until Xia Yichen and others went far away, Heshi looked at Feng Yunhai. Feng Yunhai took back his gloomy gaze from Xia Yichen and others at this time. He stared directly at Ouyang Haoshuan instead. There was a vicious sneer in the corner of his mouth. There was not much time left until the end of the big hunting match. When he got out, as long as he told the young master and White Protector about the whereabouts of Ouyang Haoshuan, he believed that it could also be credited to him. Heshi's eyes revealed a coldness. She waved her wrists suddenly, and a nearly colorless and tasteless light smoke wrapped Feng Yunhai and others. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. These light fumes quickly invaded the mouth and nose of Feng Yunhai and others, especially their wounds, then it disappeared without a trace. When Feng Yunhai saw Heshi looking at him, she was instantly frightened by her cold eyes and shivered. You don't even think of doing anything to me. If I die, you will also be disqualified from the competition, and you will even be hunted down by the 4 major sections. You don't do stupid things." Heshi smiled slowly. Her voice was clear and soft. "I don't need to do stupid things. Hao Xian, let's go." After speaking without waiting for Feng Yunhai to react to what she said, she and Ouyang Haoshuan quickly left. Feng Yunhai looked at a little surprise, then he sneered again. "What Shiyu, what Ouyang family? When I leave the main peak of Breaking Spirit Mountain, I will never let them go." In the dense grassy hills, the breeze blew through the weeds. There were figures fighting behind the weeds. Feng Lianying pressed her head in pain, finally waking up from the raging lust fire. Her memory slowly recovered in her head. Feng Lianying's pretty face twisted. Her hands clenched tightly. After a click sound, her well-maintained nail was suddenly broken by her. She remembered Shiyu, who was almost humiliated and tortured. Then she remembered Nangong Yu, who descended from the sky and rescued Shiyu. She remembered Nangong Yu's ruthlessness toward her. The love-devouring voodoo given by the master was intended to use on Shiyu initially, but it was actually used on Feng Lianying herself. Then, her consciousness became blurred, leaving only a passionate desire for men. In these days, she couldn't remember anything. She just kept moaning constantly, holding on to men and moving up and down endlessly. If one couldn't satisfy her, then two. If two couldn't satisfy, then 3 or 4. Even if she lost her voice, she couldn't feel anything. Her body and heart were dominated by lust. Feng Lianying stood up staggeringly and put on some clothes. When she looked down and saw the bodies of the ugly men around her, she felt that her stomach was churning. She kept retching, and her face was so ugly that it looked scary. "Beauty girl, Ice Lotus Fairy, let's come again." The ugly man who had just had fun with her kept licking her white jade feet. His tongue was licking on her calf. As soon as Feng Lianying bowed his head, he met the man's face full of pimples. Especially the raised sarcoma on his forehead. It was more disgusting and ugly than magical beast. Feng Lianying only felt reluctance in her heart for a while. She raised her sword and cut off the man's head ruthlessly. She inhaled and exhaled deeply, then she did it again. Her face was twisting ferociously. Her eyes were full of hatred and humiliation. "I am the Feng family's miss, the lofty Ice Lotus Fairy. I was actually tarnished by these ugly men. Such a disgusting and dirty man. I even felt disgusted when he stood in front of me. How could he touch me? How? Nangongyu, how can you be so cruel and vicious? You gave my pure body to these ugly and dirty men. No, it's not Nangongyu's fault. All these should be blamed on Shiyu. It must be Shiyu, this bitch who instigated brother Yu to treat me like this." Shiyu. Holding the flying sword tightly, she spoke with a hoarse voice as if the voice would be lost at any moment, and the voice was filled with destructive hatred. "I, Feng Lianying, swears that I will tear your body into pieces. I must let you fall into disrepute. After you die, your soul will not reincarnate again. Shiyu, just you wait." Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Feng Lianying turned around and walked out, suddenly sticking a warm body behind her. Nie Jinshan's soft voice sounded in her ear. "Lianying, we now have skin relatives, and I will propose to Feng family when I return." Feng Lianying turned his head sharply. His eyes were waiting fiercely for him. "Nie Jinshan, are you still alive?" When she woke up, she looked around and found that there were corpses everywhere, and several of them were disciples of Lu Li sect. She thought that except her and those ugly men, everyone else had been killed by Nangongyu. Nie Jinshan looked at her affectionately, but her eyes were bottomless. "Sister Lianying, have you forgotten? The first person to have sex with you is me. You hugged me passionately at that time. You even tore me in your clothes. Sister Lianying, you know that I always like you. Even if you have a relationship with these men, I will not despise you. When I go back to report to the head and Feng family's master, I will marry you." "Marry me?" Feng Lianying suddenly changed her face and screamed, "Nie Jinshan, what do you think you are? Are you worthy of marrying me? You are just a dog beside me. You want me to marry you? Stop dreaming. I tell you, forget what happened today if you are sensible. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. You don't forget that I'm the young master of Lu Li sect." Nie Jinshan's pupils shrank suddenly as he heard that. His face looked grim. He held a piece of talisman in his hand. He gripped the talisman tighter. Even his fingernails carved into his palm. However, in the end, he just smiled coldly and lowered his head without talking. Feng Lianying thought he was suppressed by her, and she was relieved in her heart. She said coldly, "If you can listen to me, you will still be the disciple leader of the Lu Li sect. After I become the head of Lu Li sect, you will be indispensable. Remember, don't tell anyone what happened today, otherwise, I will never let you go." After Feng Lianying finished speaking, she didn't bother Nie Jinshan anymore. She began to carefully groom her appearance. She had full confidence in her charm. Nie Jinshan was fascinated by her. As long as it was her order, Nie Jinshan would listen. What's more, there were Feng family and Lu Li sect behind her. How would Nie Jinshin offend her? Hee, as long as Nie Jinshin doesn't say, and these disgusting men are also dead. Wait until I kill Shiyu, then nobody in this world will know what happened in these days. As for Nangongyu, in Feng Lianying's mind, Nangongyu was her destined husband. When she married to him and became Nangongyu's well-known wife, would Nangongyu publicize his wife's scandal? Feng Lianying planned well in her mind, so she didn't pay attention to Nie Jinshin's eyes at all. Nie Jinshin looked at her coldly behind her. A wicked and sly smile was evoked at the corner of her mouth. You dare to say that I'm a dog? You said that I'm not worthy of marrying you? Hee, Feng Lianying, why don't you look at what you are now? You are just a shameless bitch who had sex with 8 men. You even have the face to abandon me? If it weren't for the identity of the Feng family's miss and the position of Lu Li sex master, I would have torn this woman to pieces. But Feng Lianying, you don't know yet, right? Your good days are over. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Big hunting match, which lasted a whole month, was finally over. When Hushi came out of the transportation array of the Breaking Spirit Mountain while holding an inscribed teleportation jade slip, she saw the crowds in front of her. Most of them were shabby, they looked withered and dejected. But there were also people who looked proud of himself. Their eyebrows were full of complacent smiles. Obviously, they had achieved good results in this big hunting match. Heshi glanced through the crowd, then she quickly met Feng Lianying's cold, ghostly eyes. Heshi's gaze examined her up and down, then she glanced at Nie Jinshin beside her, revealing an inexplicable smile. It's really a pity for the Ice Lotus Fairy. Having sex with 8 men for a few days and nights, she can still appear here beautifully. Should I say that she is talented, or her desire is strong? When Feng Lianying saw Heshi smile, she was so hateful that she almost crushed her silver teeth. If this was not the closing ceremony of the big hunting match, she would have rushed over and torn Heshi, who had framed her, into pieces. Heshi's deep voice suddenly came from Ouyang Haoshuan. Shiyu, don't entangle with such a shameless woman, lest you dirty your eyes. Hushi looked up and saw Ouyang Haoshuan looking at Feng Lianying with contempt and disgust. Seeing Hushi's confusion, Ouyang Haoshuan explained something inexplicably. When I received your call for help, I rushed to the junction of the rank 5 magical beast area and the rank 4 magical beast area, and then saw the woman and several men. I didn't expect the Ice Lotus Fairy, who looks holy on the surface, is actually so disgusting. Shiyu, you better stay away from them in the future. Hushi almost laughed out loud after hearing this. She didn't expect that Ouyang Haoshuan also bumped into Feng Lianying's great scene. It was really a pity for Ouyang Haoshuan. Especially the appearance of Mr. Liao's disciples, that was so beautiful that he didn't dare to look. Just looking at Feng Lianying, I'm afraid that she thought no one knows her scandal, right? She thought that if Nie Jinshin doesn't say, and she doesn't say it, no one will really know? As Hushi was thinking, an anxious voice came from Shin Qingchua. Young Master Shi, are you okay? I received your talisman, but my area is the eastern part of the rank 4 magical beast area. I have been urging my fellow apprentices to hurry, but there were so many magical beasts on the road, so I couldn't get through. As soon as Hushi turned her head, she met the little girl's worried and guilty eyes. Her little apple-like face turned red, and her white forehead even exuded a thin layer of sweat. Heshi's eyebrows quickly became soft, and her tone turned soft as she spoke to Shin Qingchua. Don't you worry, Miss Shin. Am I not fine now? When Shin Qingchua heard the words, her eyes became red. Her little hands were holding onto Heshi's sleeve, and her voice was slightly choking. Sorry, young Master Shi, I promised to help you, but I couldn't fulfill my promise. Grandpa taught me not to promise anything that I can't fulfill. I am really useless, Heshi smiled gently. Who said you didn't help me? As Hexo spoke, she took out the contact talisman and stuffed it into Shin Qingchua's hands. She said slowly, in fact, I was accidentally teleported to the rank 5 magical beast area, so I asked you and young Master Ouyang for help. Although you couldn't come on time, the talisman you gave me showed me where you are, and it gave me a way to the rank 4 magical beast area. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Hushi softly comforted. This way I could wait for Ouyang's help. Didn't you help me a lot by that? Shen Qingchua's eyes were beaming when she heard that. She lowered her voice. Young Master Shi, are you telling the truth? He nodded. Shen Qingchua was immediately delighted. Her little face seemed to be able to emit dazzling light. Xia Yichen, who came from the side, wanted to talk to Heshi, but when he saw the scene he snorted in anger and left arrogantly. Nailin Ziyun whispered beside him, apart from Shiyu's handsome look, how can he compare to you? I really don't know what the girl of the Shun family thinks. She is actually fond of him. Do you not know what Shiyu is capable of except for his handsome face? Why did you ask him for help if he was so incapable? Xia Yichen glared at him, then gritted his teeth. I don't need you to comfort me. I know that I can't compare myself to Shiyu, so it's normal for Chua Er to be fond of him. His face was full of unwillingness, but his eyes looked calm. Xia Yichen clenched his fists and said, when I return to Qixing Palace, I train with my grandfather properly. One day I will defeat that Shiyu and let my Chua Er take a different look at me. Hushi glanced at Xia Yichen's leaving figure, and she could hear everything the two guys said. Then, there was a smile on her face. Ouyang Haoshuan suddenly said in a deep voice, Shiyu, it's that Feng Yunhai. Heshi was astounded. When she looked up, she saw Feng Yunhai, who had bald hair, limped toward Feng Lianing and Ye Jinshin, and several disciples of the Feng family. As he walked, his gaze glanced viciously at Heshi and Ouyang Haoshuan. There was a sinister smile on his face. Ouyang Haoshuan frowned. It seems he is going to report to the elders of the Feng family. Heshi's expression was not flustered, and she smiled leisurely. Relax, he can't report it. Feng Yunhai had now stood in front of Feng Lianing and others. He couldn't wait for the closing of Big Hunting Match and the end of the awards. Since he couldn't notify young Master Feng Yunjing for the time being, it would still be the same to tell Feng Lianing and the others. As Feng Yunhai thought of this, a venomous smile appeared on his swollen face. He said, Miss, senior fellow disciple, young master. When I entered Breaking Spirit Mountain to participate in the competition, I was asked to find the whereabouts of a person. Now I have found him. The young master told me to make sure that he should be caught alive. Feng Lianing wondered, who is this? That person is... Before Feng Yunhai's words were finished, his voice stopped abruptly. His eyes widened, and blood gushed from his mouth. The blood was red at first, but it turned into a dark purple color. Feng Yunhai fell to the ground with a loud bang. His body twitched a few times, then he turned into a dead body. At the same time, there were also several martial artists who went into the Breaking Spirit Mountain with Feng Yunhai. It even included a gold core stage martial artist. Everyone's death was extremely weird. They were spitting blood, then the blood turned purple. The closing ceremony of the Big Hunting Match was immediately chaotic. The prepared doctor hurriedly rushed over to check the dead men, but no one could find out the cause of the death. Feng Lianing's face was extremely ugly. On this trip to Breaking Spirit Mountain, their Feng family lost all their faces and they lost so many gold core stage martial artists when dealing with Shiyu. Today, the martial artists who followed Feng Yunhai to the Breaking Spirit Mountain were dead. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Who the hell is it? Who is so bold to kill the Feng family's people under the daylight? The doctor who came to check up faced the fierce expression of the Feng family people and they were terrified that they trembled, but he still said, my medical skills are not good. I really can't find out how these people were poisoned and when they were poisoned. Miss Feng, please be mercy. Ouyang Haoshuan not far away was startled by the scene. Then he stared blankly at Heshi, lowering his voice. Did you do this? Heshi's mouth curved slightly, and he slowly replied with a very low voice, Ouyang Haoshuan, I guess those mysterious people who wanted to catch you may be sent by the Feng family. Ouyang Haoshuan froze, wondering, Feng family? What did the Feng family want from me? I don't know why they want to catch you. Heshi smiled slowly. I gave Feng Yunhai name Spirit Powder. As soon as Feng Yunhai and the others left Breaking Spirit Mountain, the name Spirit Powder will be triggered. During the onset of the name Spirit Powder, as long as they mention my name, they would suddenly find themselves unable to speak. It took at least a month to recover. However, if they mentioned your name Spirit Powder will be activated completely. No matter who says your name, the name Spirit Powder will kill all of them at the same time. Ouyang Haoshuan's eyes widened in shock. He said with disbelief, There is such a poison in this world? Shiyu, how powerful is your healing and poisoning technique? Heshi said indifferently, This is like the curse by the immortal. It will set some rules and restrictions. Once someone violates the curse, he or she will be punished. Name Spirit Powder is mixed with similar spiritual power. Together with the poison that can lurk the human body, this effect can naturally be achieved. Speaking of which, Heshi glanced at Ouyang Haoshuan and said slowly, Shouldn't you pay attention to the death of Feng Yunhai and the others? As she spoke, there was a cold and cruel smile on her mouth. I obviously should be the most hated person of the Feng family. However, in Breaking Spirit Mountain, after Feng Yunhai found out your identity, he didn't even bother about Xia Yichen and me. He just wanted to catch you alive. Moreover, the first sentence he spoke to Feng Lianying is even about you. Ouyang Haoshuan, don't you find it interesting? Ouyang Haoshuan was shocked, then his eyes flashed with a gloomy expression. After a long silence, he whispered slowly, Shiyu, I understand what you mean. I will be careful of the Feng family. Thank you. Heshi smiled and stopped talking. By this time, Feng Lianying had been angrily inquiring about Feng Yunhai's murderer. However, everyone saw Feng Yunhai came out of the teleportation array safely, who would admit it? Many martial artists were already full of doubt and contempt for the Feng family. Look at the Feng family who sent so many gold core stage martial artists this time. Now that only a few people came out now. They did not expect that the strength of the Feng family was so weak now. It seems that this time if they were lucky enough to be selected by the major sects, they definitely shouldn't choose the Feng family. Feng Lianying's heart was full of resentment and hopelessness. The criticizing gaze of those martial artists even made her ashamed. At this time, Feng Yunjing even disappeared. No one had the might to control this situation. If I know who is the one who harmed the Feng family's people, I will. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Young Master Shi, I remember you were the last one with brother Feng Yunhai at Breaking Spirit Mountain, right? Suddenly a teenager's clear voice broke the depressive atmosphere. The speaker was Nailan Ziyun. When Feng Lianying and others heard the words, they looked at Heshi at once. Their gaze was like ice swords, wanting to tear her into pieces. Before Feng Lianying managed to speak, another middle-aged man at the peak of the gold core stage had already screamed, Shiyu, it's you again. Do you really think you can simply provoke our Feng family? You keep challenging the majestic of the Feng family. Heshi still looked no fear. There was still a calm smile on her face. She crossed her arms and said, You can eat anything you like, but you can't talk nonsense. You said that Feng Yunhai was killed by me. Is there any evidence? Since you were the one who last saw Yunhai, if it wasn't you, who would it be? Heshi smirked. He said that I was the one who saw Feng Yunhai last, then I was the last? If he asks you to die, would you listen? Not to mention, I saw Feng Yunhai 3 days ago. Can you poison someone 3 days ago and let him die when he just meets you? The middle-aged man of the Feng family was so speechless for a long time by Heshi's words. When Feng Lianying saw Heshi, she couldn't wait to rip her off the bones, no matter whether she killed them or not. Shiyu, you bitch, who would oppose our Feng family except you? Stop quibbling. Today you better let us arrest you without resisting, otherwise you won't be able to get out of this breaking spirit mountain. Hashi glanced at Nailan Ziyun and spoke ambiguously, "Oh? No one except me would oppose the Feng family? Why do I recall that someone asked me for help when I'm in a conflict with Feng Yunhai?" "Nailan Ziyun, you said I was the last person to meet Feng Yunhai, but I remember you left long ago. How do you know what happened to Feng Yunhai after you left? Could it be that you still held grudges on Feng Yunhai because he beat you up, so you came back later and secretly poisoned him, right?" With that said, a creepy smile appeared on Heshi's face. "After all, we all know that you Nailan Ziyun is the son of Nailan Jingza, the first doctor of Jinyao Kingdom. If you want to poison someone, and someone who was being tied and defenseless, isn't that a piece of cake?" You nonsense." Nailan Ziyun panicked and screamed immediately. "I have been with my fellow apprentice Rothers since I left. I didn't go back to kill Feng Yunhai at all. Senior apprentice, please help me testify." Nailan Ziyun anxiously went to see Xia Yichen and other disciples in Qixing Palace. But these people looked at him with disgust and contempt, and they didn't mean to help him at all. Nailan Ziyun suddenly panicked, watching the aggressive gaze of the Feng family. His hands and feet were trembling. "No, I didn't kill them. You don't put the blame on me." At this moment, Xia Yichen finally stood up and said coldly, 3 days ago in the rank 4 magical beast area, we did have a conflict with Feng Yunhai. The reason was that Feng Yunhai wanted to rob our monster essence pills. Shiyu was just passing by and he helped us because he couldn't accustom to Feng Yunhai's bad behavior. In the end, Feng Yunhai was defeated. He was being tied up and beaten up by us. Xia Yichen took a few steps forward. He looked just like a 10-year-old young man, but his face was handsome and delicate. There was a dignified vibe which made his words convincing. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. If every one of the Feng family, you can go to the rank 4 magical beast area of the Breaking Spirit Mountain to see the traces left. They wanted to commit a robber act relying on numbers. I think you guys can see it clearly. What's more, what is that Feng Yunhai? In the Breaking Spirit Mountain, he was beaten up badly by us until he cried for his parents. Do we need to kill such a coward? Feng Yunhai took out a blast talisman and wanted to kill Shiyu, but Shiyu's spiritual pet swallowed the talisman. He was so scared that he fell onto the ground. This kind of garbage? Is he worthy of us killing him? Xia Yichen's sneer glance glanced at the few people who looked embarrassed in Feng family. He raised his hand as he said, You Feng family are narrow-minded, and you did such an injustice act. Don't measure the other using your villain's mind, thinking that the others would collude with you." When Xia Yichen said this, the disciples of Qixing Palace cheered. Second fellow disciple said, "Well, we Qixing Palace are participating in this hunt with our own strength. We never did those filthy act. Maybe that Feng Yunhai was just doing bad things too much, so he got his retribution. Don't put the blame on young Master Shi. Feng family really thought that our Qixing Palace was afraid of you? If you want to fight, let's fight." Xia Yichen's words made Shin Qingchua took a good look at him, then he said furiously at the people of Feng family, "You failed to frame young Master Shi last time, but this time you want to repeat the trick. You are so shameless." Qingxia Sek's other Gold Core stage disciple also sneered, "Feng family is simply bullying others. If Qixing Palace confronts with Feng family, it's better to count me Zhang Danshan of the Qingxia sect in. Also count me in. Count me in." In the hall for a while, the people in Feng family seemed to be the target of criticism. Their faces were ugly, but in the face of the questions from Qingxia sect and Qixing Palace, they couldn't argue with them for a while. Feng Yunhai's death could naturally just let it be. Feng Lianying was so enraged that her face also twisted as she watched Shiyu escaped once again when she was about to catch her. At this moment, on the master seat of the main hall, the elders of several majors who came in late sat in their respective positions. When these elders of the nascent soul stage appeared, the original noisy hall was suddenly quiet. Everyone knew that this time the big hunting match was finally coming to fruition. However, the people of Feng family looked awkward, and their faces looked even more ugly. Their Feng family, the nascent soul stage elder Feng Yunjing, did not appear. There were already martial artists sneering as they were discussing, maybe Master Feng feels ashamed that he doesn't dare to come out. Even if it's me, I don't have a face to show up to. Making such an embarrassed thing in the match, and most of the elite who sent into the Breaking Spirit Mountain didn't make it out alive. Feng family's loss this time is too serious. These people were talking secretly. One of the casual martial artists next to him seemed to have received an inexplicable message from a friend. He was surprised when he saw the message, but he still couldn't help but take out the inscribed jade slip of the black market and inject his spiritual power. When he found the sales video recorded by Recording Talisman from the black market according to the guidance of a friend, his eyes suddenly straightened. He completely forgot where he was and made a huge exclamation, "My God!" The martial artists in the hall were listening to the teachings of Elder Shishing Palace. Although there were martial artists whispering below, surely no one would shout out loud. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. So when the voice of this martial artist came out, he suddenly attracted the attention of the whole hall. The elder Xia who was speaking looked ugly, and the disciple beside him immediately reprimanded, "What's so noisy? Do you not understand the rules?" The martial artist who screamed also had astonishment on his face, but his expression was mostly feeling weird. From time to time, he glanced at Feng Lianying not far away, with a colorful expression on his face. When Elder Xia's disciple saw that he was not talking, his face immediately turned dark. He walked down and shouted, "What did you just watch? Hand it out." This man dared to be so disrespectful to their Qixing Palace. He must not be spared. The martial artist shuddered, and then held back his fear and surprise as he handed out the item. As he handed it in, he whispered, "I really don't know. I just received a message from a friend saying that there are good things on the black market, and I must watch. I really don't know it will be this. I didn't intend to interfere with Elder Xia's speech. Please forgive me, Senior." Elder Xia's disciple frowned and took over the inscribed jade slip in his hand. This inscribed jade slip looked unique, but most of the people in the Miluo continent should know it. This was the inscribed jade slip that allowed martial artists to enter the black market virtual space. It was also the identity of martial artists. The purchase and operation of the same inscribed jade slip could only be completed by a single martial artist, but if someone wanted to watch the purchased item, it could be share it with others. It could even project the video and play it directly. That Elder Xia's disciple belonged to the elite of the martial arts, but things like black market were generally only visited by some lone martial artists or the sect disciple of the lower rank. So after getting the inscribed jade slip, he injected his spiritual power before trying to understand the operating principle at all. The inscribed jade slip was instantly activated when spiritual power was injected. Immediately afterward, a huge screen was projected in the center of the hall. Two intertwined figures soon appeared on the screen. They rolled in the grass without any clothes on them. The woman's hair was loose. Her hands and feet were tightly wrapped around the man, and she was hugging his neck with an unbearable longing. And the man was slapping the woman while posing the woman in various promiscuous and slutty poses. The most incredible thing was that besides the pair of entangled woman and man, there were still a few ugly men whose clothes were untied, clinging, biting and rubbing the woman constantly. But instead of feeling ashamed, the woman showed a very excited and enthusiastic expression. She even occasionally hugged the men's ugly heads and pressed them in her chest. Everyone knew these ugly men. But this man and woman, everyone recognized them as soon as possible. Feng Lianying, the miss of Feng family and the young master of Lu Li sect. Nie Jinshan, Lu Li sect's senior fellow apprentice. These two, who were neatly dressed and looked glamorous on the surface, actually did such dirty act in Breaking Spirit Mountain. In particular, Feng Lianying, who usually looked pure and holy and couldn't tolerate others' humiliation and trample, was actually so hot and lustful in private. Many male martial artists were even excited to see this scene. There was a weird silence in the hall. Even needle drops could be heard. Elder Xia's disciple's hand was loose, and the inscribed jade slip fell to the ground. The image in the hall disappeared without a trace. That disciple looked at the crowd, at Master, and at the Feng family's people whose face was stagnant, and he stuttered, "I don't know. I really don't know. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free." He really didn't know that after the inscribed jade slip was activated, it would play such a shameful harem scene. Feng Lianying suddenly woke up and uttered a scream that sounded like it was going to tear her throat. Then blood dripped from the corner of her mouth. The pair of resentful hatreds, staring at Heshi like a banshee. She kept mumbling, "Slut, it's you? It must be you who framed me. Slut, I won't let you go." Her voice suddenly increased, then it seemed to be stuck in his throat. Feng Lianying's eyes turned white, and she fainted on the ground as she could no longer bear it. The face of the Feng family could no longer be described with ugliness. Coupled with the absence of Feng Yunjing, they were flustered. They only felt that everyone looked at them as if they were laughing at and mocking them. The miss of the dignified Feng family turned out to be having wild sex in big hunting match. Never mind if she was having wild sex, but it was not with a man, but 7 or 8 men. How could such a shameless act not be laughed at? However, when did their Feng family ever suffer such humiliation? How could the Feng family apprentices endure such ridicule? The middle-aged man who had the highest cultivation suddenly raised his hand and slapped Nie Jinshin ruthlessly. He said harshly, "Why are you guys still standing there? Quickly carry him and leave. Do you still want to stay here to embarrass yourself?" "Yes." Nie Jinshin covered his face and lowered his eyes, making people unable to see his expression. The middle-aged man resentfully said, "Wait until I settle the score with you. Look at the good things you have done. Let's see how you explain to your master when we are back." After speaking, he swung his sleeve angrily and left without bothering Nie Jinshin. When the other disciples of the Feng family saw the master's senior left, how could they have the face to stay after feeling the ridiculed eyes of everyone? They carried Feng Lianying and left dejectedly. After the Feng family had left, a loud burst of laughter broke out in the hall. This time the Feng family really made a huge loss in the big hunting match. They were so shameful. On the stage, Elder Xia gripped his fist and put it near his lips, then he made a cough. He held back his smile and said, "Everyone please be quiet. Don't worry about the insignificant things. Now we start to count the results of big hunting match." After hearing the words of Elder Xia, the martial artists in the hall stopped the noise and looked up at the stage with anticipation. Over the past month, they had lived in the wild and wrestled with magical beasts just to get good results. Today was the time to reveal their results. One by one, the martial artists handed in their monster essence pills in the storage utensils. Some were a dozen and some were hundreds. The disciples of the 4 major sects responsible for reviewing the achievements of these martial artists projected them on the inscribed jade slip so that everyone could see them. Shueyu sect, Ji Xingho, Meridian stage, turned in 87 pieces of rank 4 magical beast monster essence pills. Qingxia sect, Shi Feiyu, gold core stage, turned in 35 pieces of rank 5 magical beast monster essence pill. Qixing Palace, Xia Yichen, Meridian stage, turned in 122 pieces of rank 4 magical beast monster essence pill. As the achievements of the martial artists were projected, the whole hall was in turmoil. Among the Meridian stage martial artists who have turned in the monster essence pill today, the monster essence pill obtained by Xia Yichen was far ahead. This made the people at Qixing Palace extremely happy. Even Elder Xia, who had always been serious, could not help but caressing his beard, showing a smile of relief. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Suddenly, a young man in Shueyu sect costume snorted coldly, strode forward, and threw the storage in his hand on the table. He sneered. He just collected some rank 4 magical beast monster essence pills, and he thought he is so pro. Qixing Palace is just so-so. The people at Qixing Palace suddenly felt ugly when they heard the words, and Xia Yichen couldn't hold back as he said furiously, "Han Feiyu, what do you mean by that? Can you collect more monster essence pill than me?" Shueyu sect disciple, who was called Han Feiyu, gave a scornful smile. He injected spiritual power into the storage ring and dozens of monster essence pills appeared in front of everyone. In fact, according to the number, these dozens of monster essence pills certainly wouldn't exceed Xia Yichen's 100+ monster essence pills. However, when everyone saw that one of the monster essence pills, some of them were exuding a thick monster beast's power. They couldn't help but exclaim, "Rank 5 magical beast monster essence pill." Although this Han Feiyu was the grandson of Elder Han of Shueyu sect, he still had some reputations. However, he was only at the Meridian stage after all. A Marialian stage martial artist actually entered the rank 5 magical beast area and captured 8 monster essence pill of the rank 5 magical beast. If he did it himself, it would be amazing. Hearing the praises of everyone around, Han Feiyu raised his chin high, looked down at Xia Yichen and sneered. "Xia Yichen, do you know the difference between the strength of rank 4 magical beast and rank 5 magical beast? I have 8 rank 5 magical beasts monster essence pills here. Even your 100 rank 4 magical beasts monster essence pills can't compete with it. Hee Qixing Palace, they are just some insignificant sect." Xia Yichen's face was gloomy, but he couldn't say a word. No matter what method Han Feiyu used to get the rank 5 magical beasts monster essence pills, he lost completely in Big Hunting Mash. In particular, he lost the face of Qixing Palace. Elder Xia's face also looked gloomy and ugly. On the contrary, Elder Han of Shueyu sect smiled. He shook his head casually. "This brat is still young and vigorous. He just likes to be competitive. Elder Xia, please don't feel offended. In fact, your Sex Yichen is pretty good. He can hunt more than 100 rank 4 magical beasts monster essence pills. He was just a bit timid. He didn't dare go to the rank 5 magical beast area. Unlike our Sex Feiyu, he is just a dumb person, but he could hunt 8 rank 5 magical beasts monster essence pills. This result is still okay." There was a twitch at Elder Xia's mouth, but he forced a smile. The disciple of Shueyu sect below was even more proud and arrogant than the people of Qixing Palace and Qingxia sect. Especially when the following martial artists who submitted monster essence pills couldn't hunt the magical beast of higher rank, this made Han Feiyu even more arrogant. He suddenly walked to Shin Qingxua's side and chuckled, "Sister Chua, no wonder you used to hate Xia Yichen pestering around you like a fly. He is just a good-looking idiot who doesn't have any strength. How can Sister Chua be fond of him? I don't know what Sister Chua thinks of me. My grandfather said that I can break through the gold core stage in just a few years. By that time, you can marry me to be my dual cultivation partner. Who wants to be your dual cultivation partner?" Shin Qingxua glanced fiercely at Han Feiyu. "I don't like Xia Yichen, but I hate you 100 times more than Xia Yichen. Don't think I don't know that every year you will rob a bunch of girls with spiritual roots to serve as your furnace. Such a shameless person like you, I even feel disgusted when I see you. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. You! Han Feiyu's face suddenly darkened. His low and gentle voice that he pretended suddenly became cold. "Shin Qingxua, I'm giving face to you to marry you as my dual cultivation partner. If it were because your Qingxia sect's ancestors can be served as a backer, do you think I will be fond of you?" Before Han Feiyu finished speaking, a shadow suddenly slammed into his face. Han Feiyu was caught off guard and was hit by the thing on the ground, making a huge moan. This movement immediately caught everyone's attention. A little black dragon flying up from Han Feiyu's face, flapping his wings a few times, and he laughed. "Hey, don't you know not to block others' way? I want to submit monster essence pills for my boss. Why are you standing there blocking my way? Before Han Feiyu made a speech, the little dragon had fluttered to the front of the main hall. It raised its head and shouted loudly, "Shiyu, Foundation Establishment Stage, come to submit monster essence pill." When the name Shiyu came out, it immediately caught everyone's attention in the hall. This name was quite popular for this period. Whether it was the rumor about his amazing medical skills, the best medical pills sold by Shengde Church, or the wonderful conflict and overturn between him and the Feng family, it was impressive. Now everyone heard that he was turning in monster essence pill, everyone's eyes gathered on him. Among the crowd of Qingxia sect, a boy with a handsome face walked out slowly. The light in the hall seemed to gather on him for an instant, and a halo was painted on his body which made him look gorgeous. Everyone was stunned for a while until the boy came to the stage and took out all the monster essence pills from the storage ring. 66 rank 4 magical beasts monster essence pills and 10 rank 5 magical beasts monster essence pills. The onlookers couldn't help rubbing their eyes again and again. Even Shenzhen, who had always looked up at Shiyu, couldn't help showing a shocked expression. The boy in front is just the Foundation Establishment Stage. Did we see it right? However, none of the monster essence pills he took out were of the rank 3 magical beast. All of them were 4th order, and there were even 10 rank 5, which was 2 more than Han Feiyu. There was silence in the hall. Everyone looked at He like they were looking at a monster. Shenzhen regained conscious soon as possible. He said with a low voice, "Did you hunt these monster essence pills yourself?" He looked indifferent. She said with a clear voice, "I hunted some by myself, and some were gifted by others." After speaking, she seemed to suddenly think of something. She turned to look at Xia Yichen. Her voice was cold, but it was pleasant to listen to. "Right, thank you for giving me monster essence pills." As soon as the words came out, the whole audience made an uproar. The eyes of everyone looking at Xia Yichen changed, and then they suddenly realized it. It turned out that the people of the Qixing Palace even gave their monster essence pills to Shiyu. Perhaps it was to win over the miracle healer Shi. No wonder the pills Xia Yichen hunted were not as many as Han Feiyu. Xia Yichen widened his mouth. He couldn't respond to what happened for a long while. He stuttered, I just gave you a few," but He didn't care what he said anymore. She handed the monster essence pills to Shenzhen instead. Shenzhen glanced at her meaningfully. This glance was not just appreciation, but also amazed. This time it was Elder Xia's turn to smile at Elder Han of Shuiyu sect. "Hayes, my sexy Chen, is so honest. He is always thinking about others first. He doesn't want to take credit at all." Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Your family's Feiyu is really different. This little brat's temper really can't be helped, even I can't control him. But fortunately, he has a good social network. Elder Han, don't you think so? Elder Han's face was sullen. He waved his sleeves without saying anything. Han Feiyu, who had just been knocked by the little magic dragon to the ground, looked extremely gloomy. He wanted to vent his anger, but looking at the cold and unsightly eyes of everyone on Qingxia sect, he immediately turned away dejectedly. Just now when Han Feiyu was talking badly against Shen Qingchua, the most favorite person of the Qingxia sect, he already almost made Qingxia sect's people get rage, but He was just a step faster than them. Now that he still wanted to show off their power in front of the Qingxia sect? Did he really think that the title as the 4 major sects was just a useless title? Han Feiyu gave He a ruthless gaze before leaving. His eyes were full of resentment and coldness. The statistics of the big hunting match results were completed, and He won the first prize of the Foundation Establishment Stage Martial Artists without a doubt. She got the 4th rank fire technique as she wished. In fact, the magical beast monster essence pills obtained by He in Breaking Spirit Mountain was far more than these few dozens. Even only the rank 5 magical beast monster essence pill plus those given by Ouyang Haoshuan were more than 50. But the effect of monster essence pill was so great that she couldn't bear to give it all out. She kept the rest for the few brats as a snack. Heshi took the fire technique and looked around, but she was surprised to find that Ouyang Haoshuan was disappeared to nowhere. It seemed that before she handed over the monster essence pills, Ouyang Haoshuan had received some kind of news, and then he left with an ugly face. Heshi fell into deep thought, then Shun Qingchua's voice suddenly came in her ears. Young Master Shi, you are so amazing. You can actually win the first place of big hunting match. Heshi smiled and said nothing. At this time, Shin Sen, who completed the duties as the elder, also slowly walked up and said toward Heshi, Shiyu, would you like to come to our Qingxia sect? As long as you say a word, I can let any of the elders of Qingxia sect or even Chua Er's grandfather, Qingxia sect's ancestors to accept you as a personal disciple. After a pause, he said again, this time Feng family lost face in big hunting match, Shiyu will surely become a thorn in their eyes. Feng family is powerful, they may not dare to harm you during the big hunting match, but if you leave Breaking Spirit Mountain, Shiyu may be in danger. But as long as you come to our Qingxia sect, I guarantee that the people of Feng family will never dare to make trouble. When Shun Qingchua heard Shin Sen's words, she immediately smiled and said along, young Master Shi, uncle is right. Come to our Qingxia sect, so that we can play together all day. Let me tell you, the Yunxia mountain where our Qingxia sect is located is beautiful, and the spirit is rich. It is very suitable for cultivation. Then I will let Grandpa make a cave house for you alone, then I will find you every day to play, isn't it good? Before Shun Qingchua's words were finished, Shun Xin patted her head lightly and smiled. Young Master Shi is an ambitious person, how can he play with you every day? However, he did not deny Shun Qingchua's other promises. He was just looking at Heshi with a smile. Heshi could feel the sincere invitations from Shun Sen and Shun Qingchua to her. They were definitely not inviting her for their own purpose. She said with a smile, thank you for your kindness, but I have always been alone. For me to join a sect and to be restricted by sect rules, it is really not the path I seek. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. As soon as Heshi said this, Shin Sen's face immediately showed disappointment. Shun Qingchua's smiling face even collapsed, revealing a weeping expression. Heshi laughed. She took out a stack of talisman from her arms and handed it to Shun Qingchua as she said slowly, this is a kind of voice transmission talisman, even if it is thousands of miles away, you can contact me. Moreover, each talisman can be used many times. It is much easier to use than today's inscribed message jade slip. Miss Shun can find me through this talisman if you need me. These talismans were sent to her through black market together with the recording talisman when she communicated with Jiang Huai this time. It was similar to the talisman with special functions, but it was unable to fight. Heshi had a few stacks of it. It must be said that Jiang Huai's talent in making this special talisman was really unmatched. Shun Qingchua turned happy from sorrow as she received the talisman from Heshi. She then asked, young Master Shi, if I want to see you, can I come to Yanjing City to find you? Heshi nodded naturally. If you want to see me, go to the Xingde Church in Yanjing City to find Shiyu, and I will definitely come to see you. After saying goodbye to Shun Qingchua and others, Heshi was about to leave the palace, and suddenly came the voice of a young man behind him. Shiyu, wait. Heshi looked back and faced Xia Yichen's strong and calm face. Behind Xia Yichen, there were still the few fellow apprentices, including Nailan Xian, who had a dull look, but these brothers and sisters all stood far away. In addition to Nailan Xian, other Qixing Palace disciplines were extremely friendly in her eyes. After all, if it wasn't Heshi, their Qixing Palace would be utterly defeated by Shueyu sect just now. Xia Yichen moved his mouth. He held back his words for a long time before saying, you? Why did you help me? Help you? Heshi raised an eyebrow. Didn't I just say the truth? Sorry, you are thinking too much. I don't mean to help you. Xia Yichen had a twitch in the corner of his mouth. He suddenly pulled a wooden sign-like thing from his arm and threw it to Heshi. He coldly said, this is my pass and the summon token for Qixing Palace. If you have any difficulties in the future that you need my Qixing Palace help, you pass this token to any Qixing Palace branch business. I will receive the message soon. If you come to the Qixing Palace, this token will also let you pass unimpeded. He held the wooden sign and felt the vague spiritual power on it. There were simple carved flowers and the words, 7 stars return. It seemed to be an impressive token. Without needing to feel the spiritual power of the wooden sign at this point, she could guess it by just looking at Nalan Ziyun's distorted look after seeing the token in the distance. He said with an ambiguous smile, "Aren't you afraid that it will be disadvantageous to your Qixing Palace by giving me such an important item?" Xia Yichen Lung snorted coldly. "Our Qixing Palace has 1,000 years of history. Will I be afraid of a little disadvantage? Anyway, you keep this token. Find me if you need anything." Seeing Heshi's a pair of bright slanted eyes staring at him, the clear and deep eyes seemed to be able to suck all human souls. He suddenly choked and he stuttered a little. "Don't overthink it, I just don't want to owe others favors." After talking, his face flushed as if a cat with its tail being stepped on. He turned and walked away. Heshi looked at his embarrassed leaving back, and she smiled slightly. Suddenly she took out 2 other red and green wooden signs from her arm, and there was a hint of dumbfounding. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. She hadn't walked out of the Jinling Kingdom so far, but she already had 3 tokens from the major sects of other countries. One was from Feng family, one was from Qingxia sect, and one was from Qixing Palace. It was really interesting. This year's big hunting match had finally come to an end. Heshi did not stay here in Breaking Spirit Mountain like other martial artists, but she chose to rush back to Tsung Mountain Courtyard overnight. What made her strange was that after the closing ceremony of Big Hunting Match, she had never seen Ouyang Haoshuan, nor anyone from Feng family. Although the people of the Feng family lost their faces before and after Big Hunting Match, it was normal to leave early and not dare to see anyone. However, Heshi still has some uneasiness in her mind. She felt that it was safer to return to Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory earlier. Just down to the foot of Breaking Spirit Mountain, the sky was completely dark. Tonight was starless and moonless, the sky was dull. From time to time the cold wind whistled across the sky, bringing a chill. Heshi took a deep breath and left Breaking Spirit Mountain. This meant that she left the prohibition of the big hunting match. She could naturally use her flying sword. However, when Heshi was going to cast her Li Shui sword, she suddenly felt an inexplicable heart palpitations. The mournful and heartbroken roar of wild beasts sounded in the dark night. The anxiety in Heshi's heart grew stronger. She cast her Li Shui sword as soon as possible and was about to leave. Suddenly, a chill and powerful spiritual power spread from the southeast, covering thousands of square meters of the surrounding land. The spiritual power, accompanied by divine sense, was sweeping and exploring something. It seemed to be looking for something anxiously. At the same time, it blocked all spiritual power fluctuations in this area. The coercion and strength carried in this spiritual power was even stronger than that of Feng Yunjing, and Heshi was impossible to resist it today. Heshi's forehead exuded a little sweat. Immediately afterward, she heard countless footsteps running in the distance, and there was some screaming faintly. "Quick look! We can't let him run away. He is so badly injured. He could never run far. You go over there, we go over here." Heshi frowned slightly, and it seemed that this prohibition was not directed against him. This group of people seemed to be looking for someone. She exerted slight force under his feet, then qi circulated in her body. Heshi retreated silently and quickly. Her figure submerged into the darker shadow of the mountain wall. After a while, a group of men in black and veiled masks ran through hurriedly with illuminating stone. They carefully checked their surroundings all the way back and forth again and again. Although she could not see their faces clearly, their eyes that were exposed outside the face towel were full of anxiety. Heshi's location was very good. She was hanging in the air against the mountain wall, and she was best at concealing her breath, so this group of people went around a few times here, and they did not find her. After 30 minutes, the group of people probably determined that there was no one hiding here, so they hurried away to search for the next location. Heshi jumped down from the mountain wall, looking at the direction in which these people left, and she was lost in thought. Suddenly, a painful scream came from the crowd who had just left. 1, 2, 3 times, the strong bloody smell spread in the dark night with the screams of human beings and the roar of the beast. Heshi's heart tightened, and there was a creepy fear in her spine in the direction of the bloody smell. There was no fluctuation of spiritual power, but she felt an instinctive fear. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. A few black-shirt man figures rolled as they fled to her direction. As they rolled, they shouted sternly. However, without waiting for them to run a few steps, their bodies were torn into pieces. Blood was splashing everywhere. Internal organs were falling all over. The air was full of disgusting breath. Heshi knew she should enter the darkness to hide her breath, but she didn't know why. Feeling the breath that covered her from afar, her footsteps could not move. That breath was too cruel, but it was too sad, desperate, angry, and mad. The last black-shirt man fled only 10 steps away from Heshi and issued a sharp shout. "Save me, I don't want to die. Save me." However, in the next moment he was torn in half, and his internal organs and flesh fell on the ground. And when he was torn open, the mouth was still wide open. His eyes were full of fear. Heshi felt a bloody smell and the warm blood splashed on her face that made her want to vomit. Immediately afterward, the body that was torn apart was thrown away. A shadow approached her slowly in the darkness. The low whine and roar, the rich bloody smell, and the scorching and burning sensation that could only be felt when approaching. It wasn't until the dark figure stood in front of Heshi that she realized that the shadow in front of her that roared like a beast and killed dozens of people in an instant turned out to be a person. Black Shadow approached her step by step. The burning breath brought a burning sensation on her skin with a bloody brutality. Those eyes that were also shining in the dark night were completely like the vertical pupils of the beast, but they exuded the color of blood that was scary. Heshi swallowed her saliva. Her long, cold fingers held onto the invisible needle. She said with a hoarse voice, "Who are you?" There were countless footsteps rushing toward this side quickly from far away. The group of black-shirt men obviously came to catch the person in front of her. Roar! A roar came from the dark figure's throat. It was mixed with the man's husky voice and the ferocious brutality of the beast. The invisible needle in Heshi's hand was almost shot out, but suddenly the light from the illuminating stone was lightly projected on the dark figure. It was just a short moment. It was almost a blur when the light shone on the dark figure and turned dark. Heshi's hand suddenly stopped. Her eyes were widening in disbelief. Ouyang Haoshuan? How could it be Ouyang Haoshuan? The time went back a few hours before the ending of the big hunting match's closing ceremony. In a remote cave at the foot of Breaking Spirit Mountain, Ouyang Jixiong opened his eyes in a daze. At the moment of consciousness, he only felt that his whole body was sour as if he were to melt. His original cultivation of the gold core stage seemed to be solidified by something. He couldn't exert it at all. Ouyang Jixiong looked around, and what he saw was a few masked men in black. There were only 2 leaders standing before him. One was dressed in a white scholar robe of ordinary appearance, and the other was tall, wearing a dark red robe with a woven pattern, but he was wearing a black mask on his face, covering most of his face. Seeing Ouyang Jixiong waking up, both of them came toward him. An invisible spirit pressure rushed to his face, making Ouyang Jixiong shudder. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. These 2 people were at least nascent soul stage cultivation. Moreover, these masked men in black were also gold core stage. Who are these people? What do they want to do to catch me? Ouyang Zhixiong thought in this way and immediately asked, Who are you guys? What did you do to me? The scholar in white chuckled, You don't need to know who we are. Just answer our questions honestly. The man in white's voice was sharp and high-pitched, but it let people feel that he deliberately changed his voice. Ouyang Zhixiong said sharply, Do you know who I am? I am the mighty general of the Jinling Kingdom. You dare to be presumptuous in the territory of the Jinling Kingdom? Are you not afraid of dying horribly? Jinling country? The man in white seemed to hear the funniest joke. It's just a Jinling country. If we want to eliminate it, we can do it by one finger. Do you think we are scared? General Ouyang, haha. Ouyang Zhixiong's complexion turned blue and white. He knew that Jinling was just a small country. In addition to His Royal Highness King of Hell, there was no cultivator at the nascent soul stage. He was nominally the mighty general who was in charge of 100,000 elite soldiers, but these elite soldiers were just ordinary people in the end. If they were to fight another sect of another country, they would be trampled on. And listening to the words of these people, it was obvious that they were not the people of the Jinling Kingdom. Ouyang Zhixiong took a deep breath and said in a cold voice, Even if you are not afraid of the Jinling Kingdom, you should know that nowadays, there are many people from all major sects in the Breaking Spirit Mountain. If all the major sects know that you dare to act recklessly. Before Ouyang Zhixiong's words were finished, the man in white suddenly stretched out his hand and gently waved it. Ouyang Zhixiong only felt a sudden pain on his face. He snorted and spat out blood. The man in white smiled in a slightly high-pitched voice. Ouyang Zhixiong, do you think you are qualified to ask questions now? I have said that you only have to answer my question obediently. Ouyang Zhixiong was frightened and angry. He could only grit his teeth to suppress the fear and anger in his heart. The man in white saw that he became honest. Then he said with satisfaction, We caught you because we just want to ask you a question. Do you have the 5-element spirit pearl in your Ouyang family? 5-element spirit pearl? Ouyang Zhixiong looked up in surprise. What is that? I have never heard of any 5-element spirit pearl. The man in white looked at the red-robed man in surprise. Then he frowned, took out something like a compass, and put it at Ouyang Zhixiong's side. As the compass just came close to Ouyang Zhixiong, the pointer above gently shook. The man in white's face suddenly showed a smile of excitement, then he slapped Ouyang Zhixiong's face again. Old fox, you dare to lie to me. If you haven't been close to the 5-element spirit pearl for a long time, how will this compass respond to you? Ouyang Zhixiong's cultivation was now completely sealed, and with a slap, he only felt his eardrum was buzzing. He could not speak for a while. The reticent man in the red robe finally said slowly at this time, The best way to preserve the 5-element spirit pearl is to generally seal it in martial artists with the same attribute spiritual power, and it will be transferred to future generations through one's bloodline, so it is normal that they didn't notice the existence of the 5-element spirit pearl. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Ouyang Zhixiong was full of shock. His eyes were looking at the compass, but he couldn't understand what the two men were talking about. He shivered and raised his head, shouting, I really don't know what 5-element spirit pearl, and I have never seen relevant records in my Ouyang family's codex. Did you find the wrong person? Hee, people can lie, but this Tai Chi compass won't. The man in white smiled sinisterly at Ouyang Haoshuan. The compass's pointer move, and that means you can at least often get in touch with 5-element spirit pearl. Ouyang Zhixiong, if you tell the whereabouts of 5-element spirit pearl obediently, we may still spare you the life of Ouyang family. Otherwise, it is not just you who will die. Ouyang Zhixiong shuddered as he was stared at by the cold gaze. An inexplicable fear raised in his mind. He shouted loudly, I really don't know where 5-element spirit pearl is. You don't touch my wife and son, otherwise I will never let you go. The man in white suddenly laughed when he heard the words, and his laughter was full of contempt. You don't let me go? How are you going to not let me go? With that said, he clapped in the air and said loudly, "Bring her in." Ouyang Zhixiong was stunned, but then he heard a familiar woman struggling and screaming in his ear, "Let me go! Who are you? Why do you want to catch me? Don't you know who am I?" "Shang Yun." As Ouyang Zhixiong heard the voice, his body that had been lying on the ground struggled violently. He rushed toward the direction of the voice. "Shang Yun, are you okay?" "Master, why are you here too?" When Mrs. Ouyang saw Ouyang Zhixiong, she immediately rushed into his arms. Her cold body was shivering in fear. When Ouyang Zhixiong saw his wife, the fear on his face grew stronger. He stared tightly at the two in front of him, then he said as he trembled, You guys caught my wife, what do you want to do?" The man in white smiled faintly, "It's not just your wife. After a while, your baby son will come here to meet you." Ouyang Zhixiong's facial muscles twitched. When Mrs. Ouyang heard them mentioning her son, she immediately shouted, What do you guys want to do? You can't hurt my son." The man in white looked coldly at Ouyang Zhixiong and slowly said, "Then it depends on whether Ouyang Zhixiong is willing to tell the whereabouts of 5-element spirit pearl. As long as you hand over 5-element spirit pearl, I guarantee that you can go back safely. Otherwise, your family of 3 will reunion in hell." "I don't know dash." Ouyang Zhixiong yelled, and his plead had turned hoarse already. "I really don't know what 5-element spirit pearl. If you want to kill, just direct it all at me. Please let my wife and son go." The man in white wrinkled his eyebrows, and an impatient killing intent flashed across his eyes. The man in the red robe next to him suddenly said in a low, cold voice, "According to the records of great ancient book, after the 5-element spirit pearl is sealed inside the body of a martial artist, it cannot be detected. Only the martial artist of the gold core stage can manifest it. The method of manifestation is also very simple. It only requires the martial artist to be greatly stimulated. After his fundamental essence, soul, and spiritual power are all in disorder. 5-element spirit pearl will not be able to maintain the seal, then it will naturally appear. Of course, as the martial artist as a vessel will also be consumed by the manifestation of 5 elements spirit pearl. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Bai Sha, do you need me to teach you a simple method? The voice of the man in the red robe was so arrogant that it had a hint of carelessness as a superior. He was even looking at Ouyang Zhixiong and his wife like they were just ants. What he said made Ouyang Zhixiong's body trembled. An ominous hunch hit him like a storm. The man in white, known as Bai Sha, was overjoyed when he heard the words. He bowed toward the man in red robe. "Young master, I understand. You can rest assured that I and He Sha have been with you for a long time, and we have learned a lot of means to torture people." With that, Bai Sha made a hint at the masked man in black next to him. There was a fear in Ouyang Zhixiong's eyes. He held his wife tightly in his hands as he said in a tremble, "What do you want to do?" "I don't know 5-element spirit pearl. I really don't know what 5-element spirit pearl is." However, the men in black simply ignored what he was talking about. They quickly stepped forward and kicked Ouyang Zhixiong, who was weak because of the seal, and then dragged Mrs. Ouyang. Mrs. Ouyang shouted sharply. Her hands and legs were kicking and waving nonstop. But Mrs. Ouyang was just an ordinary foundation establishment stage cultivator. How could she be the opponent of these gold core stage powerhouses? Ouyang Zhixiong wanted to rush to grab his wife, but he was kicked away by Bai Sha. Bai Sha stepped forward and stepped on Ouyang Zhixiong, who kept roaring. He sneered, "Ouyang Zhixiong, if you want your wife to suffer less, it is better to hand out the 5-element spirit pearl obediently." As he said, he exerted force with his leg. Ouyang Zhixiong felt only a sharp pain in his chest. The ribs on his chest were breaking, and it was so painful that his body twitched suddenly. "Master!" Mrs. Ouyang saw Ouyang Zhixiong suffering, and she suddenly cried and tried to pounce on him. But how could the black men who caught him let her do it? Bai Sha's face was covered with an evil smile. He bent down to grab Ouyang Zhixiong's hair, pulled him up, grabbed him, and showed him his wife. An undertone and deliberate sharp voice sounded in his ear like a summon of the hell. Ouyang Jixiong, although your wife is old, and her cultivation isn't high, she still looks beautiful. Although she is old, my brothers have spent a month in Breaking Spirit Mountain. Now it is good to have the taste of a woman. Not to mention, it is the wife of the mighty general of the Jinling state. It would be nice to play with a woman with such a noble identity, don't you think so? Ouyang Jixiong's eyes widened sharply. His eyes were bloodshot as he stared fiercely at the man next to him. You dare. You are not allowed to touch Shangyun or my wife. Otherwise, I will never let you go. Ha! Bai Sha laughed suddenly when he saw his greasy expression and crimson eyes. That's right. That's it, just be more agitated, angrier, and more hopeless. As he said, he looked at the few men in black with a cold and cruel smile. What are you guys waiting for? By the way, to prevent her from committing suicide, you guys should first sever her meridians. With that said, he seemed to remember something and he said something meaningfully. I remember that your son's meridians were also shocked by someone, and he lay in bed for 6 months, right? Finally, he was cured by Shiyu. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Now that Ms. Ouyang's meridians are severed, I think she can still be treated by Shiyu, right? No. No. Don't. The mournful roar and pleading echoed in the cave. However, no one here would pity him at all, and no one would listen to his pleading. A painful wailing sounded. Mrs. Ouyang's face turned pale. Her body crumbled to the ground like a pool of mud. At this moment, her meridians had been severed. Let alone walking or struggling, she couldn't even lift her hand. However, she was still alive, and the spiritual power in her dantian was still running, supporting her voice. She couldn't die even if she wanted to. Mrs. Ouyang's face was full of tears, despair and pain filled her eyes. But the humiliation and torture were far from over. Soon, a man rushed up, shredded her clothes. He disregarded her screaming and crying and did whatever he wanted with her. Don't dash. Don't dash. Shangyun, let go of her dash. Ouyang Jixiong struggled violently like a lunatic, and the voice in his mouth was like the desperate wailing of the beast. You monster. Kill me if you dare. Just kill me. Ouyang Jixiong watched that his wife being raped in front of him, but he could do nothing. He only felt that the blood in his body rushed to the top of his head, and he frantically condensed it to his dantian. As her body was struck and shaken violently, Mrs. Ouyang's face was full of silent tears. There were no more crying and screaming. Her heart was dead. Even if she could survive, she would not allow her dirty body to stay in the world. Ouyang Jixiong suddenly burst into an astounding roar, and he slammed toward Bai Sha. His dantian and spiritual power that had been sealed initially was running at this moment. Bai Sha was caught off guard, and he was actually knocked away by Wing Jixiong for several steps. He rushed toward her wife crazily and punched off the man who was riding his wife ruthlessly. Bai Sha's face showed a satisfied smile. Under such intense stimulation, if he really had 5-element spirit pearl, it would soon appear. Bai Sha's figure shook and condensed spiritual power clusters in his hand, grabbing Ouyang Jixiong, who was madly screaming and punching. Ouyang Jixiong, who was so brave, was just a powerless bug in his hand. Bai Sha reached out and explored Ouyang Jixiong's dantian, but he immediately showed a disappointed look. Although his spiritual power was running, there were no signs of condensing 5-element spirit pearl. Trash. Bai Sha's face was gloomy. He ruthlessly stomped on Ouyang Jixiong, whose mouth was bleeding, and he sneered. It seems that the stimulation for you is not enough. If you condense the 5-element spirit pearl, I might let you go. But since you are so ignorant, then don't blame me for being rude. With that said, his cold, tyrannical gaze glanced at the men in black. Just now you treat Mrs. Ouyang too gentle. Since one person is not stimulating enough, then let's do 2 people and even 3 people together. Don't waste time, our General Ouyang is waiting to watch a good show. The screams of sorrow, anger, and despair resounded in the cave again and again. It was a bloody torture like hell, and it was also cruel torture that was inhumane at all. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Half an hour later, the black-shirt men who were surrounding by Mrs. Ouyang reached out to test her breath. They reported coldly, reporting to White Protector, also known as Bai Sha, Mrs. Ouyang is dead. On the ground not far away, the wife who was originally dignified and beautiful was lying dead on the ground. There was no complete skin on her body. There were blue and purple bite marks and scratches everywhere. Her legs were twisted unnaturally, and her body was in a twisted posture. Obviously not only her meridians, but also her bones in her body were broken. Her eyes were widened, the tears in the corners of the eyes had dried up, her messy hair was drooping, covering the dead eyes. The moment before she died was full of despair and hatred. Ouyang Jixiong stared blankly at the scene in front of him, and his body trembled like a sieve. He couldn't hear anything and he couldn't feel anything. Only the sentence in his ear kept echoing, "Dead, Shangyun is dead. My wife who has been with me for decades, died. I will kill you all. I will kill you, this bunch of monsters." Ouyang Jixiong suddenly jumped up and rushed toward the man in red robe. He knew that he was the mastermind of everything. He was the one who captured him and his wife. He suggested to torture Shangyun to stimulate him. It was this beast that killed Shangyun. He made her die so miserably. Ouyang Jixiong's actions were beyond everyone's expectations, especially by Sha, who had already known that he would assault him. Who knows, he actually pounced toward the man in red robe. The man in the red robe also showed some surprise, but then the surprise quickly turned into contempt. At the moment Ouyang Jixiong rushed over, he condensed spiritual at his left leg and kicked toward Ouyang Jixiong's chest. Who knows that Ouyang Jixiong was ignoring the kick as if he didn't want his life anymore. A pair of hands full of blood because of scratching the ground rock, clawed toward the man's neck like a ghost. Bang dash, Ouyang Jixiong was undoubtedly knocked out by the kick. Blood was flowing out of his mouth. But unexpectedly, the man in the red robe almost pinched to the neck. The mask on his face was shaken and dropped, showing a cold face. Ouyang Jixiong struggled to get up from the ground. He saw his face when he still blurred, and his eyes widened suddenly. Feng Yunjing? He let out a hoarse roar. It turns out to be you, the Feng family. Feng Yunjing, aren't you afraid of being punished by God for doing such immoral thing? You damn animal? Feng Yunjing sneered with his hands behind his back, and he coldly glanced at Ouyang Jixiong on the ground. It was as if he was looking at rotten meat that made him sick. This old man didn't condense 5-element spirit pearl after such great stimulation. It seems that 5-element spirit pearl is probably not on him. Bai Sha nodded and said, "In this way, the person in the Ouyang family who can get in contact to Ouyang Jixiong every day and has the cultivation of the gold core stage or above can only be Ouyang Haoshuan." Feng Yunjing frowned. "Have you caught Ouyang Haoshuan yet?" Bai Sha's face looked a bit ugly. He said in a deep voice, "Ouyang Haoshuan, this boy is very cunning." He noticed that we were following him in Breaking Spirit Mountain, so he immediately hid in the enchantment of the Breaking Spirit Mountain. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Our people who chased him were all trapped inside. When we came out of the enchantment, we had completely lost him. Feng Yunjing's eyes were cold, and he was greatly displeased. "Can't you chase when you lost him?" Bai Sha quickly said, "Young master, please be rest assured, after the big hunting match is over, he will return to the main palace hall. I have notified him by the unique mean to Ouyang family to let him come here alone." "What do you want to do with my son?" Ouyang Jixiong made a shrilling roar as he heard his son's whereabouts. Feng Yunjing, I said that we don't know what 5-element spirit pearl, and Haoshuan is impossible to know. Just let him go. Please let him go. Feng Yunjing sneered and said quietly, relax, it doesn't matter if he doesn't know the existence of 5-element spirit pearl. As long as the 5-element spirit pearl is in his body and he is sufficiently stimulated, it will naturally condense and manifest. Ouyang Zhixiong shuddered, remembering the stimulation and torture he just had when he thought of his wife's tragic death. He couldn't bear it anymore. He pounced on Feng Yunjing crazily, I will fight you guys until I'm dead. Feng Yunjing's eyes were cold, and his long sword suddenly unsheathed. 2 strikes, and Ouyang Zhixiong's legs were cut off by Qi General Ouyang Zhixiong fell to the ground. His body was creeping like a bloodworm, and a large amount of blood flowed out under him which looked very miserable. Feng Yunjing sneered, if it weren't for the purpose of keeping you to stimulate Ouyang Haoshuan, do you think you can still live until now? Bai Sha looked at Ouyang Zhixiong's creeping on the ground and chuckled. Zuzu, the majestic general of the Jinling kingdom. If your soldiers see your stupid look, will they really recognize you as their genera? As the person next to him was about to respond, a man in black who was staying outside suddenly hurried in and whispered in Feng Yunjing's ear. Feng Yunjing's eyes lit up, and there was a bit of a bloodthirsty smile on his face. The time is just right. Just bring him in, then he can see such a wonderful scene. After Feng Yunjing finished speaking, he put 2 phantom hoods over the figures of Ouyang Zhixiong and Mrs. Ouyang. Soon, a tall and handsome young man walked in from outside the cave. He was hesitant in his footsteps as he said to the people around him, didn't you say my parents are waiting for me here? Where are they? The man's voice was a little trembling, but he still grinned reluctantly. Haoshuan, uncle is only doing it for the sake of others. To call you here? It's really not related to me. Really not. Ouyang Haoshuan's face sank, and he quickly entered the cave. He could feel the strong spirit pressure and spiritual power fluctuations in the cave. However, thinking of the safety of his parents and the mother's personal jewelry that his uncle showed him, Ouyang Haoshuan didn't hesitate to enter the cave. At this time, the sun was setting, and the sky slowly dimmed. The entire Breaking Spirit Mountain seemed to be covered with a layer of blood. But in this hole, the light became dimmer as the bloody smell became stronger. As soon as Ouyang Haoshuan entered the cave, he felt a strong spirit pressure coming to him. That was definitely the pressure of at least the intermediate level of the nascent soul stage. He looked up and saw Feng Yunjing and Bai Sha looking at him with an ambiguous smile. Ouyang Haoshuan's pupils shrank suddenly. He said coldly, as expected, the people who wants to catch me in the Breaking Spirit Mountain are really the people of the Feng family. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. She was right. The people of Feng family was the one who always wanted to catch him. Bai Sha smiled. Ouyang Haoshuan, you are much smarter than your stupid parents. In Breaking Spirit Mountain, you escaped my pursuit 3 or 4 times, but your good luck has come to an end. Ouyang Haoshuan's eyes suddenly turned gloomy and shouted, what about my parents? What did you guys do to them? Just go after me if you want me. Don't hurt my parents. Oh, don't hurt your parents? Bai Sha laughed. But what if I have hurt them? With that, Bai Sha waved his hand gently. Ouyang wife and husband slowly appeared naked on the ground where there were nothing. The original dignified and beautiful and gentle mother was like a broken doll now. She was presented in a twisted and humiliating posture in front of him. The mother had long dead, but those eyes were still open, telling indescribable sadness and hatred. Mother! Ouyang Haoshuan rushed frantically to Mrs. Ouyang's body and lifted her up. Mrs. Ouyang's body made a fractured sound. The broken bones broke apart, revealing a more horrible and broken body and those traces of humiliation. Ouyang Haoshuan's body was trembling violently, and his eyes were constantly flashing with scarlet fire. He hugged his mother's body tightly and made a broken, hoarse cry. Mother! Mother! You wake up! Mother! Please wake up and see me. I am Haoshuan, mother. Can you please wake up and see me? Scarlet blood and tears flowed down his eyes, and the young man in his 20s was crying like a child who had lost everything. Ouyang Haoxuan's life collapsed in his 20s, then it was reconstructed again after meeting Shiyu. In his reconstructed life, the only one who supported his sky was his parents, who always took good care of him and never abandoned him. When he was in pain, they were more painful than him. He was always treated like a treasure by his parents. But now his mother was dead, and she was turned into such a miserably broken corpse. She suffered such a humiliation and died in front of him. Ouyang Haoxuan slowly raised his head. His scarlet eyes looked like an inferno flame, and he looked straight at Feng Yunjing and Bai Sha. You killed my mother? His voice was calm and hoarse, as if it was the most common question, but Bai Sha felt inexplicably creepy. However, thinking of his own purpose and the stimulation that Ouyang Haoxuan was receiving at this time, Bai Sha's face smiled quickly again. Why? It's enough to just look at your mother? Don't you want to look at your father, Ouyang Zhixiong? After finishing speaking, he waved his hand and the false spirit shield was removed. Ouyang Zhixiong's legs were cut, lying on the ground. Ouyang Zhixiong in the false spirit shield can speak, but his voice couldn't go through the shield. At this moment, Ouyang Zhixiong shouted and shouted, Huoxuan, go now immediately. Don't care about us, just go quickly. Daddy dash. Ouyang Haoxuan yelled loudly, rushing toward Ouyang Zhixiong. However, Bai Sha moved faster than him. A somewhat pale palm was pressed behind Ouyang Zhixiong, and a powerful spiritual power was suddenly triggered. Bang! With a loud noise, only half of Ouyang Zhixiong's body was blown out by a huge force, falling straight into Ouyang Haoxuan's arms. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. In Ouyang Haoxuan's arms, Ouyang Zhixiong's eyes turned white, and he spat out blood. The crimson eyes turned pale and silent. The moment when Bai Sha just broke his heart meridian, he also shattered his dantian. He was no longer alive. Scarlet blood seemed to flow endlessly, pouring out of Ouyang Zhixiong's mouth. Ouyang Haoxuan grabbed his hand tightly and tried to send his spiritual power in, shouting with a dying tone, Father, don't die. I will take you to Shiyu. She will definitely save you. Daddy, do you hear me? Don't die. Don't leave me. Daddy. However, how could a person with a broken dantian and heart meridian be able to receive spiritual power again? All the efforts were in vain, and he could do nothing done except watching his father dying. Ouyang Zhixiong grabbed his son's hand with his backhand. The pair of hands that were originally wide and powerful were covered with blood at this time. The cold blood stuck to the palm of Ouyang Haoxuan as if it covered all the light in life. Haoxuan, run. Ouyang Zhixiong clenched his hand tightly, saying each word with difficulty, run now. Don't condense sadness. Condense 5 elements spirit pearl. Quickly run. But be sure to live. After finishing the last word, Ouyang Zhixiong finally loosened his hands, closed his eyes and lost his voice. Daddy! Daddy! Ouyang Haoxuan froze in place. His eyes were empty and blank. All hope, all fear, all happiness and expectation were bursting like a bubble. They all left him. He stood up slowly. The dark and silent pupil looked at Bai Sha and Feng Yunjing. Deep in the pupil, a string of scarlet flames burned little by little, and it boiled little by little. He suddenly laughed lowly, but his voice hoarse had a bitter tenderness. It's gone, my parents, my home, all gone. But you are still alive. Why are you murderers who killed my parents, alive? Ha! Feng family Feng Yunjing. You caught my parents, tortured them, and killed them in front of me. You forced me to a desperate situation. What do you want to do? The creepy tenderness suddenly turned into hysterical madness. Ouyang Haoxuan's hair that was tied by the hair crown suddenly rose up high without wind. It was like a huge wind rising from his body, taking his body as the axis and spreading throughout the cave. The powerful scorching heat wave caused the men in black to start to stagger. Some even made a painful sullen snort. Feng Yunjing and Bai Sha also had dignified expressions, but there were more joy and excitement in their eyes. Such a powerful spiritual power fluctuation, such a hot temperature, it seems that 5-element spirit pearl is definitely on Ouyang Haoshuan. And it is most likely to be a fire element spirit pearl. Sure enough, a layer of golden flames slowly burned in his dantian, then it gradually condensed. In the constant rotation, the golden flames slowly gathered together and turned into a bead in the size of a small nail. The bead showed a bloody red color, gently shaking in the dantian of Ouyang Haoshuan and radiating golden light from time to time. Fire element spirit pearl. Feng Yunjing whispered excitedly, "It's really fire element spirit pearl." Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Bai Sha was trembling with excitement. As long as we can get the fire element spirit pearl, our Feng family will unify the Miluo continent and rise to the upper realm. Feng Yunjing barely suppressed his excitement and shouted, "Immediately get the spirit pearl." Bai Sha immediately responded. He channeled his spiritual power and rushed toward Ouyang Haoshuan. However, before waiting for Bai Sha to approach Ouyang Haoshuan, a dazzling light suddenly burst out from his dantian. As soon as Bai Sha touched the light, he felt a burning pain all over his body. He hurriedly blocked with spiritual power before barely supporting it. Ouyang Haoshuan's low, hoarse laughter came from not far away. "So what you want is this, fire element spirit pearl. For this, you killed my parents, destroyed my family, and forced me to such a desperate situation. Feng Yunjing, do you really want this fire element spirit pearl? Then take a look, do you have any life to get it?" As soon as the voice fell, the heat wave that had been surging suddenly became even hotter. Feng Yunjing cast the Rakshasa flag to protect his surroundings to then barely block the heat wave. However, when he looked at Ouyang Haoshuan, his expression changed abruptly. "No, he will fuse the fire element spirit pearl to explode Jinden. You guys stop him now." After Feng Yunjing's order, the men in black around him assaulted Ouyang Haoshuan. Innumerable flying sword magic weapons shot toward Ouyang Haoshuan. However, before the flying swords got close to Ouyang Haoshuan, they were all melting as if they encountered a blazing flame. This is a magic weapon forged with rare materials. Why would it be melted? Everyone was stunned by the terrifying power of fire element spirit pearl. At this time, Ouyang Haoshuan can clearly feel the fragmentation of his gold core and the collapse of dantian in his body. He felt the scorching heat wave that roasted the flying sword wrapped his body little by little. It burned his dantian, burned his meridians, and melted his bones. This was a kind of pain that ordinary people simply couldn't bear. His cultivation was disappearing little by little, and the life-sustaining flesh and bones were swallowed and melted bit by bit. Heartbreaking and all bones eroding couldn't compare to it in the slightest. But Ouyang Haoshuan still kept a smile. The face that was flushing red was still revealing a crazy smile. He had nothing to lose now. For revenge, he could give everything and endure everything. His meridians, skeletons and dantian were all gone, but there was another powerful fire spiritual power supporting his body so that he could live and be able to exert powerful power. He was going to kill the animals in front of him at all costs. "Feng Yunjing, you will all die. I want you all to be buried with my parents." The fiery red spiritual power surged out of his body and swept toward Feng Yunjing and Bai Sha. Those well-trained black-shirt men did not hesitate to block in front of Feng Yunjing without waiting for orders. One by one, they operated the spiritual power in their body and cast their magic weapons, trying to block the attack of the red spiritual power. However, this red spiritual power actually swallowed them effortlessly with just a touch. These people only felt a powerful force that burned souls, then they lost consciousness. In this dim cave, they did not even leave corpses and clothes. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.